gentlemen, welcome back to the Rainbow Six Charlotte Major. I'll tell you what, that first semi-final delivered, right? That was good. All NA Grand Final. Now, what I want to do is, before we do anything, I want to sort of weigh up who's backing who in this room right now. Any DZ fans in the house? What about Astralis? Okay, I see you down there. Oxygen? All right, I can't talk enough about the fact that it is so good to have live Siege back, and I know that every single one of you here agree with me on that point. It was a very long time since we were all together in the same room, 825 days to be precise. So, why don't we get a really cool photograph all together to commemorate the fact that we're all back here. All I want you to do is, you've all got a phone, right? Whip it out. Your phone, that is. Get your phone out. And turn your torch on. You know, the old classic, we'll get those lights in the air right now. Every single one of you, if you've got one, please put it up, because this already looks absolutely amazing. I'm still seeing some gaps. Keep them coming. Keep them coming. I love it. Look at that. This is actually a little... When you see this, guys, it's going to leave you a little bit speechless and emotional. So just take this moment in, and I want a big cheer and wave them in the air if you are happy to be with your Siege family here this weekend in Charlotte! Wow, I feel a little bit emotional. Who's ready for a second semi-final? All right, let's bring out the teams. They are the ones that bring the noise. But will their high energy grace this stage tomorrow? Ladies and gentlemen, Astralis! And their opponents. A team oozing with confidence. Will their eclectic mix of youth and experience propel them into the grand final? It's Oxygen! This handshake done. Oh no, it's bringing the sweeper. It's bringing the sweeper. Okay, this is very high stakes. Which one of these two teams is going to make it into our grand final? We're about to take the first step into finding out. Let's cross over to Doha on the desk.
I think we're going to win the whole event, so that's what I'm looking forward to, is beating whatever team gets put in front of us.
My approach to this competition is just pure dominance. That's all I want.
Astralis is one of the only teams in this competition that I give respect to. I think they have worked a lot to get to this point, so if we get to play them, I think it's just going to be a good match.
Oxygen is one of the 2 teams that's beat us this year, so I feel like we have to prove ourselves that we're just better than them. So I'm looking forward to that matchup.
Oh boy, here we go. I am hyped about this one. It's going to be Oxygen versus Astralis. Doey here at the desk along with Fresh and Jesse Chicken. You know what? This is going to be amazing because the last 2 matches yesterday starred both of these teams, obviously. It was the 2 most exciting matches of the quarterfinals, in my opinion. Now you got these 2 teams clashing together. It's a battle of some of the best in Siege. It's a battle of some of the biggest egos in Siege as well. You couldn't ask for anything more.
Astralis have already taken down one NA team. They've got a second one today, and if they win a third one tomorrow, they're used to this. They've been playing NAL. They're a brand new team. They come to a national event for the first time, and they only get to play them in groups. I don't think they'll complain, though, if they make it all the way to the finals.
Yeah. What a story that would be, by the way. Like,
right?
It's kind of first real stage in NAL. You finish first, you come to the major, you win it. Wow.
Right.
I mean, they've got a semi-final to get through
Might
before.
win it eventually.
For sure. But
They
I
get
mean,
through this, yeah.
one thing I will say is the one team that did beat them inside of NAL was the team that they're going up against today, Oxygen. So there may be a little bit in the back of their minds thinking, we've already lost once to these guys.
Very true. Well, let's talk about Astralis, and let's dive into it a little bit. And yeah, you're absolutely right, Fresh. I mean, Oxygen is one of the few teams that have ever handed this Astralis squad a loss. And Jesse, that's got to be weighing on the minds a little bit. That was a long time ago. That feels like ancient history, but it's still something to kind of think about a little bit. It's in the back of your mind, you know?
Yeah, that was all the way back on the first week of the NAL, and I do think that was still when Astralis were kind of getting their feet underneath them. They were still kind of getting their stuff figured out. This will be peak Astralis against peak Oxygen. This is much more of a fair fight where Astralis really want to prove themselves. They want to say, nah, that was a fluke. We're coming back and we're able to take this over OXG. They still got the first seed over them. Even though Oxygen managed to beat them in the regular season, Oxygen had a couple of their losses, and so Astralis managed to be the #1 seed out of North America. There's no doubt, at least prior to this event, that these are the top 2 teams in NA. Maybe DZ will change our minds tomorrow, but a lot of people had these 2 squads being North America's best. So the fact that they're going up against one another here in the semifinals means we were up for a great day.
Right. Now, Astralis' match against XSET yesterday was like a knockdown, drag-out, like bar fight of a match, right? It was 2-1. Both the teams traded blows, right? But when it came down to it, I felt like Astralis had that thing we talk about a lot with them, which is that clutch factor, right? At the end of the day, somebody on that team, whether it's like Forrest, whether it's Iconic, is going to come up and get the 1v2. They're going to get the clutch play to win the round. I mean, Fresh, they're going to need it in spades against Oxygen, aren't they?
Yeah, and there's a few people on this roster that we can highlight. I know for me, I personally was really enjoying the way DP Fire was playing yesterday. And I know Jesse was really liking Forrest, and we've not even spoke about Iconic yet. And I think that's the thing is, these are a team. It's not 5 individuals, but when they absolutely need to, when they need that clutch, there are multiple people on this roster who can just show up and get that clutch.
Dude, DP Fire yesterday, though, I mean, that he had that clutch 4K at the end. Kind of looks like Ron Weasley, but he slays him like Voldemort. That's my thing.
Listen, he does it with the best of them. Last map against Astralis versus XSET, we saw DP Fire clutching up early and then Forrest clutching up late. Those were the 2 big players that really delivered that map home for Astralis. But you briefly mentioned it, Fresh. It was Iconic, who has been leading this team throughout their entire history as a 5-man roster. This year, he has been on fire. And I really do worry for Oxygen because there are not a lot of players like Iconic out there. There's not a lot of players that dominate to the same level on attack, on Finka, like Iconic tends to do. One of them is Shaiko, and they've already put him to bed. Is Iconic going to be the difference maker, though?
I mean, quite possibly, right? And the thing about Iconic, too, is he's got the attitude with it, right? I mean, there's not a lot of players that bring the attitude, but then also can back it up to the degree he has. I mean, I mentioned this yesterday when I ran into him and a couple of the players before the quarterfinals. I asked if the crowd was going to be a factor, and he's like, no, because he'd never played in front of a crowd before, right? Said, no way, they're just going to give us more energy. We're just going to feed off it, and feed off it they did.
He talks the talk, he walks the walk, and I genuinely think, is there anything that he can't do? Like, he's such a good player on this roster, and I think all of them exhibit a level of composure that you wouldn't associate with a roster kind of so new into the international environment. You'd associate with rosters that have been there and done it. You know, people like, as we said in the last match, Canadian. But some of these guys, it's their first time in front of a crowd. They've still got that composure. They've still got that belief in themselves.
Yeah, we talk about Astralis as a really young team, and one of the players is a bit older, but is still new to this international stage is Forrest. He's been around the block a little bit, but coming in as kind of that hard support player for Astralis, he's had some incredible moments throughout his time on this team. Of course, broke the record for highest rated player in the North American League history this stage against that in the one very dominant game he had on Villa earlier on this year. He's had a great event as well. He's the second highest planter in the event behind Eclipse. We highlighted Eclipse quite a bit in the last pregame, and now I think Forrest deserves just as much attention. 12 plants throughout the tournament so far. He has really been doing a good job there, and you can see, I mean, he's not afraid to hop on some of these more aggressive operators. He is always the one with the kit, but he's not always the one who needs to be opening the walls. Sometimes he can grab that aggressive plates operator anyways, and it'll still work out.
Yeah, that's right. And that's the thing about this team is you could go through every single member of the team and talk about like how good they are in their role, what they bring to the team. It really is the total package. But speaking of teams with basically everything in the world going for them, their opponents, you could say a lot of the same stuff. Let's talk about Oxygen now. This is a team that is incredible. They've got where maybe they have, if I had like different rating systems, if they have slightly less clutch factor, they have a slightly higher team execution factor. Strategically, this team is almost second to none.
Yeah, I really think Auction are the full package, right? Auction is a team that just does not make mistakes.
Yeah.
The way they're able to close out rounds that nobody else seems to be able to. They're so consistent. And we talked about this against BDS, right? An 81% conversion rate coming into this game throughout the tournament is ridiculous. It's unheard of. Being able to win 81% of the rounds that you get the opening pick, the opening advantage, that is an insane stat for them to have. No other teams really match up to that.
Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. It's that kind of lack of mistakes. Well, I said it yesterday when they were against BDS, is neither team makes mistakes. Auction made even less, and they're so hard to pick. It's not even like they need to get to the point of somebody clutching for them, because they're just operate as a unit without making mistakes. You can't find kills. If you do find kills, there's somebody usually there to refrag it within 2 seconds. And they kind of just choke you out when you're against them. I had the privilege of going up against them a couple of times, and even back then, this was a completely different roster, but it was the same stuff. And I think the one advantage the Auction will have today is they've got players who have been there in front of crowds, been at SI90 and SI20, you know, under Reciprocity in the kind of old iteration of this roster. And that's the one difference I can see between the two teams. Because Astralis yesterday, sure, they got some experience on LAN, but they were against a team that was still quite new to it as well.
Sure.
Today, they're going up against a team that's been there, done that, and got the t-shirt from probably the last 8 events.
I mean, I think you bring up a really good point, that if we could really nail down the difference between these two teams is that while Astralis can make little missteps from time to time, they have the clutch ability to bring it back, whereas Oxygen just generally doesn't make those missteps.
And I think a big reason why is because they've got such strong support players. The secondary support, the flank watch that they do have, Laxing, has been so important for this team forever, right? I mean, he's one of the oldest players in the game. He's able to really shape the newer blood on this lineup, and I think he's really been that flank watch that is the player to aspire to for all upcoming flank watch players. He's so good in the pinch, coming up behind the team. I think on defense, I've really enjoyed his Kaid play. Throughout the North American League, he can be very, very good with that. And even just here in Charlotte, that last map against BDS, that first half, he had some crazy impactful plays.
Yeah, I honestly think that match versus BDS was probably like my favorite match of Siege I've ever seen. It was only a 2-0, but it was 2 of the closest maps as well, and just both teams played so well. Obviously, Oxygen ended up getting that little bit extra to help them win it, but I think it's time to check out where we're going to go here. The maps have been decided, so let's see what the picks and bans are going to be. I've got a feeling we're going to need all 3. What do you think?
Oh, I hope we get all three. I think just for the sake of these games, these semi-finals have been absolutely incredible, and they both deserve all three. Astralis will get rid of Clubhouse straight away, which is one of Oxygen's best maps. It's in their top 3 preference for maps. Oxygen will hit back with a Villa ban. It's very similar story there. Astralis love that map. I would say the 2 maps they want to go to are Theme and Villa every single time. Astralis, they're going to go for Chalet. It's kind of mid-map for Oxygen, but
that's where they lost last time in the NAL as well.
There you go. That's the point I was just going to make. And Oxygen, we said about Astralis loving these new maps. Get rid of Border. They did actually lose it yesterday, Astralis, over to Exet, but they still looked very good on it, so I'm not surprised to see that one taken away.
It's those new maps, right, that Astralis are so good at, and I expect them to pick one here. It's the Skyscraper this time, so they're going to be bringing that one out. It's been one that Oxygen played for the first time ever against BDS here in this tournament. Now, they won it, but it was an overtime game, so very, very close one. There's some VODs to review from yesterday for Astralis. OXG's pick up next, coming through for their first pick in the series, and it's going to be Oregon. We're headed back. Oxygen actually a pretty even record throughout the 6 Invitational, and then they scraped through over BDS to progress to the semifinals. That is one that was quite close, but they're feeling confident on it. They're looking good. They're going to take it against Astralis, who are quite good on that map as well. That leaves us with just Cafe, Bank, and Theme Park, and I have to imagine we go to a Theme Park here. Cafe, of these 3 maps, the only one that Astralis are not undefeated on, so they'll take it out and leave it to Bank and Theme Park. OXG go for the Theme. Oxygen on Theme Park are very, very good. They're 3-0 on this map since its reintroduction into the map pool. 2 wins over each of the group members, and then a 3rd over the world champs back home in Vegas. Oxygen, in my mind, are North America's best theme park team. Yeah,
the way that I look at teams' map preferences from their bans, I preference it 1 to 9. And when both teams have the same #1 preference map, in my mind, I'm like, I want to see it. For these 2 teams, it's theme parks. I want to get to that 3rd map because I think that's going to be hella exciting.
Absolutely. It's going to be, I would be shocked if this was a one-sided series. But, you know, at the end of the day, we got to make some predictions. We got to pick who we think is going to win it. And I think this is easily the hardest one that we've had yet this weekend. I'm going to throw it to you first, Fresh. Though.
I was right with my first prediction, and I'm going to stick with my second prediction. I think Oxygen will win this one.
All right, Oxygen. Jesse?
Do I have to?
You have to. There's no choice.
Can I please? I mean, I'd rather.
What would you rather do?
Just grab some popcorn, enjoy the game, watch some matches. Do I have to really pick between the 2 best teams in North America?
You'll probably
for a semifinal
anyway.
match. All right, Jack. You don't have to call me a flip-flopper like that. No, I can't pick. I guess the graphics is Oxygen. I did pick OXG to win the tournament ahead of time, but yeah, I would rather just chill and enjoy the game.
What'd you rather do? Would you rather just, oh, I see. All right. Just popcorn. There you go. All right. Well, I mean, that's what we're going to be doing behind the scenes when you watch it. But obviously, you're going to pick Oxygen, you said?
Sure.
Okay.
That's hard. That's a hard pick, though.
All right. There's the Oxygen pick, which means that there's only one more choice. Now, the thing is, again, today's coin, I mentioned this earlier. A fan came up to me before the show and said the coin didn't do very well yesterday. You want to use this one? I said, sure, why not? So we've got just a good old US of A $quarter here, Washington on the front, the Eagle on the back. And so in this particular match, you know, we go by the order of the graphics. That means it's going to be Oxygen, heads. It's going to be Astralis, tails. See what it is. Oh, it's heads. All right, the coin says OXG. And again, this isn't on me anymore. This isn't on me. This is on you. This is a coin from the fans, a coin of the people. Apparently the people say Oxygen. We'll find out. Let's go without any further ado to the casters to see who takes that spot, or takes that first map anyway, and gets one step closer to that spot in the grand finals.
Thank you very much, Doa. Ladies and gentlemen, we've waited so long to reach this point in the tournament. We can finally announce that for the first time in 5 years of professional Siege, we have only North American teams left at this stage of the tournament. And now we have to figure out who their challenger will be in the grand finals. Dark Zero already making their way through. What are you doing there, by the way? What?
North America already won, so we're done, man. I'm just eating food now, you know. Don't really need it that much, but
all right, well, put the food away because
okay.
it's time
all
to get
right.
into this matchup. We need to find out which of these two teams, both of our top NAL teams, the #1 and #2 seed from the region coming into this event. Only one of them can move onward to challenge Dark Zero, and we're going to find out over these next 3 maps who it's going to be. Let's get into our first map now. We're just going to get started off on Skyscraper.
You gotta love the noise from the crowd. To start us off here, a lot of fans for Astralis sitting on the right-hand side of the room, but Oxygen, I'm sure you're just as loud. And we're starting off with some interesting stuff. This is what you want to see when it comes to a semifinals of Rainbow Six. Finka banned out, no longer having an LMG, no more adrenal surges, no more frag grenades. So many things she does nowadays, and we're not going to have to deal with any of it.
We obviously saw the massive impact that could be made for that operator on Iconic yesterday, so banning her out makes perfect sense, not only for meta reasons, but in terms of a comfort pick for Astralis as well. Thermite going to be removed by them in the meanwhile here, removing the more straightforward hard breach from the table and following it up with the more expected ban, I would say, as they take Valkyrie out of play. She's been the pick of the litter on these more wide open maps, especially the ones with a lot of prop clutter like this one too, where you can hide those cameras inside of them, so just don't want to take the risk on that. And then finally Mira to round us out.
I think there's a really strong ban from Oxygen for the defensive end. We saw just how strong Astralis' setups were yesterday on Skyscraper with Mira, so now that they're not going to have her for all those cross-sections across the map, it should be fairly straightforward how Oxygen want to break things down, but obviously Astralis could have some strategy that they want to try and implement when they get to that side of the coin. But speaking of which, they're going to be starting things off on offense. If that wasn't already a given, Oxygen will be on defense, and they're going to be headed towards Karaoke and T-Rim.
So no surprises on the site pick either, as they'll be starting off pretty much exactly where we expect them to go. Bandit will be in play here, at least initially, and we won't see that picked away either. Relaxing as they lock themselves into the rounds. Going to try and deny some of that presence, especially from the back end, coming from the Temple side. Do not want to be dealing with that extra presence there, so if they can block it out, especially with no Thatcher seemingly in play here for the attackers at this point, going to be all the better. But we still have ways to deal with it, namely with what Iconic is going to bring to the table here. As he switches away from the Nook and Operator, we saw quite a bit from an Astralis yesterday, and instead we'll bring the Flores to clear out some of that utility.
Man, I don't know how people like popcorn. There's just so many kernels, and like you just can't talk.
Pretty sure that was like unflavored popcorn.
It was smart pop because Jesse, I don't know what he's doing, you know, like he was just like, hey, take this popcorn. I was like, I mean, I guess. But past that, just about a couple of seconds here into this first round. I'm going to be starting things off on the far side of the building from where Oxygen is currently. But as we'd seen yesterday and a couple other Skyscrapers, a lot of teams starting to focus on holding down the entire building and trying to force the offense to take map control away. That works extremely well in Siege given the timer and how you can delay on utility.
Slow start, though, for Astralis as they begin to work their way in. Thatcher does end up getting swapped into this lineup, but a whole lot of extra utility, too, as you guys on the right side of your screen has probably noticed already. Jade, I know, specifically bringing the Ying to bear here. On top of that, Forrest will once again bring out big shielded operator on the attacking side. And then on top of that, we'll even have Osa providing secondary shields for this assault inside of the double rooms as well. So quite a bit for Oxygen to deal with in terms of response, and unfortunately, they have 0 impacts and no nitros either. So getting rid of this is going to be quite cumbersome, actually.
Yes, indeed. And since Force doesn't exactly have a weapon right now, they're going to have to try and find a way to circumnavigate a lot of this utility from Oxygen and attempt to find some safe pasture for him. But as soon as they get him on the horizontal, things should be A-okay. And it seems like they've accomplished that. They got in control of at least the outside shrine balcony. Just need somebody to get the door. And we saw how this broke down yesterday when they tried to slide that Osa shield right to the top of Black Stairs and ended up getting blown up from the nitro cell inside of T. So might want to go about this in a little bit of a different fashion than they did the last time. DP Fire, not going to have anything to deal with a shield on the inside at the current moment. So as of now, Astralis is going to be holding things down around this stairwell.
DP Fire keeping his head on a swivel just to make sure that Oxygen don't get up to any dirty tricks here. We know that they're somewhat known for that, playing in much more aggressively when the opportunity arises for them. And even better, we know that Oxygen has got the read on Astralis, and the reverse of that also being true. These teams are going to be a little careful about the way they dance around each other for the first round or so. Dream, of course, catching the cross now in the Osa as well, moving in. One shot finally connecting there on the M59, but now they got them trapped in a corner. The Toxic Babe going to begin to burn out DP Fire's HP. Not going to be able to maintain from it. Has to fall very far back here and still barely has any HP left on the Osa. Another plume spreads. That's going to force Forrest out of position. DP Fire seems to be safe, and Forrest only eats up 2 ticks this time. The back end of Karaoke is not going to breach far enough, but a 1 1-to-1 exchange is how we'll start this off. Nurse and J9O will take each other's lives and bring us into a 4v4.
This has been such an awkward round so far for Forest and DP Fires. They've been stuck at the top of Black Stairs for a while, but now the plan's going down. Iconic has the cross here from Karaoke, and he's going to burst through Geisha. Looks for the player inside of Drum that's going to skimper off. That's going to be laxing here. Fox A and Vertical, though, they have to have an answer for this. Looks like the Monty wants to lock up the hallway for the time. Fox A has potential here, but DP Fire to take him down. This Osa shield setup, it's too strong. Oxygen try and stave off this round with smokes, but it seems as though Astralis, rather, wants all of it.
Showing you the strength once again of attacker repick here. Right off the bat, immediately Astralis bringing a massive number of shields as soon as they catch the fact that Oxygen do not have the proper utility to deal with it. And it's something that Oxygen really should have seen. It's an incredibly similar lineup that we saw out of Astralis just yesterday when they played this very same map. So it shouldn't have really been a surprise to our defenders here, but apparently it was. And they did not have the appropriate amount of utility to deal with it. Attempted to do so with those toxic babes, but far too much room to work with and not nearly enough resistance from the defense.
We got the chants going and everything in the crowd now. How are you guys feeling? Love to hear it. That's only one round in, too. I mean, we still got a long time in between these two, because I'm telling you, this is more than likely going all three. That Oregon especially is going to be quite the spicy meatball, let me tell you. Well, we got to get through Skyscraper first, and as we've seen, this map has been quite action-packed. I don't know about you, John, but I've been really enjoying watching it the more and more that we've gotten into it. When they first implemented it again, I was like, I don't know about this. It is Skyscraper, but it's been a really, really good time. A lot of teams showing just what this map is capable of.
We're going to have an interesting roaming setup by Oxygen downstairs too, over towards the front lobby side, because obviously we'll be playing into this site. It's not a site we've seen teams really try out too much here downstairs inside of the bedroom. They've mainly been focusing on the upstairs holds as well as barbecue on the other side of the map. So this will be a little bit of unfamiliar territory for Astralis, as at least in yesterday's game, they never once had to defend or attack this site.
Yes, indeed. And now Newer's looking for a peek, but won't be able to find anything just yet. Astralis instead choosing the safer greens outside just to make sure that they don't get punished. They're going to stack up on the northeast side as of now, but more than likely want to try and stick to their guns like they did the last time. Just get the info in and see exactly where potentially these Oxygen members could be. Lots of shield play the last time around, but obviously this time not so much. No Osa, no Monty, just pure fragging potential from the Astralis lineup.
J9O continues to patiently wait for his first opportunity to grab a member of Oxygen should they pass by, but none of that going to be gifted over to either team here. Just the first bits of utility being utilized to open things up. We got a Twitch drone lurking around too. It's going to knock out, I believe, at least one Electric Claw. Fox A still keeping one in pocket, so should be able to re-electrify that wall, but he wants to wait and see where the breach is going to come from for shuttle. As you can see, now working on opening up the upstairs double wall. We'll see that go in, and with this EMP going off, that should be enough room here for that to work out. And yes, it looks like it just got off in time, so they were going to be able to breach that opening.
Very fortunate for Astralis, and it makes it really, really difficult to try and compete with the secondary set of Skyros pellets that are going on now. Potentially have something like an Impact or something along those lines come out, but obviously Astralis, or rather Oxygen, lacking in that department at the current moment. Fidel's out for Astralis. Speaking of which, though, as for his first one will get eaten up. Looking for a secondary, though. See if he wants to try and push in after Vertical gets blinded, but no, it's going to be a faux push here. He's going to throw a drone up top to try and assist Iconic, who's looking to try and hop inside of Terrace. He will do so successfully. Doesn't bump the Prisma either. Finds a good location. If this drone is able to walk him in, there's a big potential here. He's going to be able to sneak in and find some kills. He's going to get the first one. Doubles back now. This F2's so strong. And that's the second one. Slam a new magazine, Iconic. There's more bodies to grab for Astralis.
There was a bump in the road. I'm pretty sure J9O ended up going down to a frostbat on his initial entry, so he's still sitting on the ground and has been for some time. So in reality, we are in an even game right now. Down to a 3v3 because there's no Fink Adrenal Surge Resist to come in. Forrest will make up the difference, though, on his entry. Takes down Newers and leaves just Fox A and Vert in this fight for Oxygen as they try to claim their first round. J9O will be retrieved as well, so he will stay in the engagement, albeit at very low HP. And now Iconic looks for the insertion to find the first of the two remaining kills. There it is. He gets a personal third on the round. Vertical is all that's left. This is also one of the most impactful members of Oxygen, making up the biggest difference on this team in these clutch moments. But a 1v4 might just be asking a little too much here. He'll venture forward, try to pick up Iconic, but he's too strong. Iconic gets a quad on the round, and Astralis gets a second overall.
It's a quad for the king, and it's 2 rounds in a row for Astralis, making it look easy so far up against OXG. They had a very solid answer to the shield play the last round, but unluckily enough for them, they just couldn't get it when it came to the plant for Astralis. They had too many members trained on karaoke at the time, but this time around, it was a simple drone in from Terrace, 2 quick kills for Iconic, and they set up the round for success right off rip.
Beautiful stuff from Astralis, making up the difference, even in unfamiliar territory, attacking that site for the first time at this event. Oxygen, though, have hit a massive wall, it seems here, are not able to figure out how to control things, whether it's the mid or early round. Whenever Astralis strike in, they're striking true, and they're not making many mistakes along the way here. The utility usage is pristine, and Oxygen are just not responding to it appropriately enough in order to fend it off and bring us down to a null-timer where Astralis are going to have to force their way into a site, or even better, just pick up the kills and prevent Astralis from having the manpower to get themselves in there to begin with. They'll return to the upstairs hold on the double rooms, or we'll see if they can have better luck on a second go around.
It's been calculated strikes so far from Astralis that have boded so very well for them, and more than likely will continue to do so unless Oxygen has something to say about it. This time around, they're going to be adding some more traps to the mix. As Fox, they'll be bringing Legion. They still have the delay of Dream as well. Bandits working in from Lactin, and the big piece here, Newers on the Warden, because DP Fire has been bringing that Ying.
So Astralis out on the board. We'll see a very cautious approach will be made for them, as we've been seeing already in the past 2 rounds. Big emphasis on the drone game, which is actually a pretty decent departure from what we were used to seeing from Astralis. A bit more gung-ho behavior inside of the NAL season. Coming into this event, they look way more trained out. We can see, though, already at the beginning of this round, heavy costs to that usage of the drones, as they're already down to just 6 out of the 10 they started with here. So gonna have to make sure that they save quite a few of those for this late clear here, especially if Oxygen is gonna remain mobile. Dream will get in the way of the initial push that Forest, and in the previous round, DP Fire had gone for. So that will force Forest out if he initially tries to brute force it and take this control away from Dream.
Already draining out these smokes. A smart strategy if they'll just gift them over early on, but it is really up to Dream and his decision making here. Do you want to keep applying these in? Okay, you do. So Force is just going to keep doing this back and forth until Dream no longer has smokes, and then they'll try and figure out exactly what they want to do with that deployable shield. They have EMPs across the map, so that's really not going to assist him in his current status, as there's a couple of ADSs actually holding onto that shield from the door. But past that, though, J9O and obviously the remaining members of Astralis looking to gather some Geisha control, but also need to drone some things out on the other end of the map and see potentially where these oxygen members lie. More smoke damage coming in from Forest here, as the last smoke from Dream will finally be utilized, and DP Fire looking to hop in top of Shrine Window.
Attackers have located a bomb.
Trying to get himself forward here. Laxing seems to be somewhat ready for the challenge. He's heard the breach and is in the correct position to do so, but not even the same player that pushes him. He gets a bit surprised by it, but still the pre-fire works just as well. Finding Iconic, only that damage going on to him as a result for the trade there. Nurse taking a little bit as well, both him as well as Laxing going down to about 50 HP, but Forrest is able to push himself forward, get behind on the Montane, and actually knock Dream out on the smoke from behind that position behind the shield.
Something you don't see every day, but now trades happening back as forth as Newers will be able to save Laxing from that situation. But Astralis once again pull ahead, and this is what we saw yesterday. Time and time again up against Xset, they'd be able to equalize their man count, but then they immediately jolt ahead yet again. Oh, luckily enough though, they'll be able to stop the plant with that Nitro Cell. Newers, if you're gonna clutch, you got to do it now. It's a 1 versus 2, 26 seconds remaining. J9O constantly finicking with the plant. He's going to be stopped again, but no! The MPX doesn't do enough damage as he tags him in the legs, and he won't even die. The AK-12 takes down Newers as he trusts his gun too much.
It's a fatal misread from Newers. Thought he had enough damage going in order to make impact to take down the secondary planter, but no. Gives that player the opportunity to spin back around, and a 3rd consecutive round will go up onto the board for Astralis. And we'll also enter a tactical pause. It's time for Oxygen to figure out what the heck is going on in these rounds. Why can't we control anything? Why aren't we making any progress here? Why aren't we just slowing these guys down to any serious degree? They're going to fall back on their coach to get that information.
Super, super unfortunate for Newers there. You can see how disappointed he was in that. He's like, why is this guy not dead? I just shot you like 10 times in the back. But, I mean, it's all about, limb dependency when it comes to a lot of these rounds. Your damage model is completely different depending on where you hit somebody. And unfortunately enough for him, just not enough rounds in order to achieve that. So, tactical timeout now for Oxygen, as Redeemer has some things to say, and he probably has a lot to say, honestly. It's already a quick 3-0 for, Astralis in this situation.
Astralis continue to make a massive impact at the outset of this game here. They're going to throw a few curveballs in this operator select. We'll have to see how many actually stick around inside of the action phase. We'll be finding out pretty soon here. As you guys will notice for Forrest, that'll be the most interesting one here. The Glaz has been soft-locked by him, although everyone else except for Shuttle has already repicked into a new operator. We can see Flores will come in to support the utility clear. Never mind, that'll go back to a Twitch. Shuttle will take up that mantle instead here. They don't feel the need for a sledge. And then as well, Lion will be brought in for DP Fire.
They're just going to keep twisting it. Every time you mention something, John, it's like, yeah, no glass. We don't want that. Get rid of all of it. I really do like this lineup, though, that they're bringing. The Thatcher and Ace will be able to work really well together. You have the Ying for the execute utility, also DP Fire to mess with any roamers or any site presence that they actually have to play through. Also, you have the Flores at the end of the day to be able to help with those Rotero drones, so they can simply get rid of any deployable shields or anything along those lines. So fairly straightforward in what they want for this lineup, but let's see if it's a little bit harder to achieve now that Oxygen have gotten done with their tactical timeout.
We need to see if a spawn peak will potentially line up for him here outside of the window, but more than likely not, judging from our silhouettes here. First Rotero drone going to be denied as well here due to the forward position from Newers. Be able to get out of the way of that one, knock it away, and with at least a quarter of J9O's utility. Bandit Trick going to come in here, should work out, and there we go. Nice and easy placement for Foxay there that deletes one of the Selmas along with it. So far, Oxygen doing a much better job at negating some of this utility, which was a big issue for them in the previous few rounds. However, look at this. They've already hopped in with the case. They're just flooding the site with Candelas right now, and Newers making impact, trades out the first player, but the case is down. They've secured it. Planter will be taken out on the way out, but he pops off an EU1D before going down. Dream as well, after finding DP Fires, also got J9O in a dead state, so Oxygen have the edge, but for how long can they keep it? Shuttle as well, forced away from the diffuser now as the smoke blooms out next to him here, and in addition to that, Laxing finds a beautiful shot against Forrest on the cross to take him down. One more from Foxay. It seems that Astralis were a bit too bold here. A Shuttle tries his heart out to battle back and stop the counter defuse, but it's not going to be enough. Finally, Oxygen pick up a round.
Oxygen fighting back after Astralis decided to rush into kitchen, but it was ill-advised. It looked really, really risky as well, with Foxy's position upstairs, just staring down through the floorboards. Really, really difficult for them to try and deal with him at that current moment, but that wasn't even the biggest problem. You have Laxing running through everybody, trying to hold down that case as well on the horizontal, that first floor. So Oxygen finally able to get around on this defensive end. They're looking to run it up even more before Astralis switches over to offense. They got 2 rounds, and hopefully they're capable.
Astralis, their first little bump in the road here has been hit, and Oxygen do feel the confidence to go back to the T-room for a 3rd time already, even though we are already only 5 rounds deep. Normally, at most, you're going to see teams play that same site only about 2 times, but this one is pretty heavily weighted towards the defenders in most circumstances. So Oxygen feel that they have the capability to really lock this one down. We'll have to see if that is going to be the case from Astralis, as they've already got a few repicks coming into a line with that, but they're not going to bring the same layout as they have been for the last few attacks against this site. It is a little bit of a different philosophy coming in, as we've got Iconic sneaking around on the Nook, and DP Fire still wanting to stick with the Lion play here.
We'll see if the sneaky play works out this time. Past that, though, a fairly straightforward setup, especially with Shuttle going to be on Sledge. This is his bread and butter op for a lot of maps. So for Oxygen, though, I mean, the big thing here has got to be the Oryx that they're bringing in. Foxy has a lot of potential for his roam game here. J9O apparently worried about somebody jumping out of a window, and I mean, you really should be. You really never know what's going to happen with either one of these squads when they play defense. Somebody might just get risky and feel as though the pick is worth it, but he just wants to make sure that's not going to happen to him. Instead, he's going to break out the window at the bottom of Black Stairs and start working on the karaoke window as well, just make himself some new angles and hold on to this end of the building for a while. That seems to be Astralis' main game plan whenever it comes into the early round, to start setting up angles and see if any of the Oxygen members are willing to try and challenge past what we saw in that last round with the Rush.
Astralis will send off their first EE1D charge from DP Fire, but not a whole lot of intel gathered from it. Oxygen stay completely solid and avoid being tagged up by the drone floating overhead the map right now. Rest of Astralis, though, still getting to a point where they feel the confidence to at least begin to move in, clearing out areas like Geisha, and using that as a staging ground, which, like we said before, is a break from the strategy they've been using for the previous 2 attacks here. Oxygen have the counters set up for it, but once again, this is where it's been a bit of a roll of the dice for Oxygen and their capability to actually make impact and stop the play from Astralis. And in the last round, it became completely irrelevant because Astralis went right for the execute. And as we found out this time, after he shoots out that drone, a good distraction against him. Laxing mid-roam, though, will catch Forest and will be able to exchange that back out, keeping the numbers even in a 4v4. Iconic trying to sneak up, but he's been spotted by a member inside of T-Room. It's a good thing in hindsight that he does get spotted by it. The nade set up. Oh no, Iconic nearly ends his own life as he has to back down. And thankfully, the nade is just a little too far away to fully take him out.
Iconic's face when that nade bounced back, he was like, oh, that almost killed me. That was real close right there. But fortunately enough, he is indeed still alive, so he'll maintain man count. He's going to the last minute here with a 4 versus 4. Know the position of quite a few of these Oxygen members as well, so they can deliver when it comes to the frag department. But in fact, with the actual frags, they're fresh out. Down to the stuns here for all of their secondary utility and time. DP Fire also out of EE1Ds. Shuttle really hasn't even done anything with his sledgehammer. Still has that thing at max capacity. Vertical now looking for a challenge over here on the restaurant stairs. There's going to be a stun out as he'll be full-whited, but no one to challenge. So it'll be Shuttle re-rotating and coming back to the Geisha balcony. Boxay will get down, but so will Iconic, and Laxing will pick him up.
With a good exchange, but unfortunately, his time is up. Had to be very mobile to get those kills, and Shuttle is finally able to lock him down. And with Boxay down on the ground, the Astralis have the edge right now. If they're able to keep him there, Shuttle with another one as he's running all over the map right now, finding out the position of Vertical. Dream cannot support Boxay, no way to get him back up. The best hope now is to have Dream deny the plant, but he's out of utility to do so. The SMG-11's aim is true, however, to take down DP Fire on the first assault. The plant goes down, and J9O rushes in to pick up the final kill. It's Astralis back in control at a 4-1 scoreline.
And this is what's so difficult about fighting against Astralis. They never stop making plays. They are always looking for that gap in your defense, that gap in your offense, and they will exploit it every single time. It doesn't matter what the man count is, it doesn't matter what the situation is. They have time and time again been consistent in being able to take it to a multitude of teams, not even from their own region, but internationally here at Charlotte. And they do it yet again up against the second best team. By statistics, inside of the NAL, Oxygen down 3 rounds now as Astralis look to go up 5-1.
Crowd seeming to favor Astralis as well here as they continue to rocket ahead, looking to repeat their results from yesterday against XSET. When XSET chose to play into this map, thinking they would be able to best Astralis on it. When in turn, that turned out not to be true. The same mistake potentially being made today and allowing it to go through. But thankfully for the Oxygen roster, it is our very first map. So they will have the second 2 to rebound on and potentially still keep their playoff hopes and a chance to take down DZ in the grand final alive.
Don't want to call it too early because we haven't seen Astralis' defense again on Skyscraper just yet. But as of right now, they might have the nastiest Skyscraper in the entire world. They are so strong on this map. This offensive side has been dastardly. I'm looking to close it out now. Newers doing his best with those mechanics. Look at how many angles this guy checks a minute, by the way. If we had that statistic, oh, Newers would have it down. And he's got the shot as well. Imagine being that accurate and that fast all at the same damn time, man. You make my head spin.
J9O may have ended the last round, but this round he's going to sit, unfortunately, on the cams for the large majority of it. That's at least half of the hard breach utility now gone as well. They still have DP Fire as a backup, so it's not the end of the world just yet. But obviously, utilizing those X-Kairos charges are going to be a little bit more difficult when you consider that Foxy has the capability to just outright deny them. Yours potentially cooking up something here for himself as well. He got the ping from a moment ago.
Swing it.
Saw the shots come in through the alibi clones. He's ready to take this challenge, but it doesn't seem he has the appropriate amount of information about where this player's at specifically. And now Twitch Drone's going to spot him out. It's no longer a good play. He's got to back away from this.
Oh, man, that makes me so depressed. Sometimes you just want to see somebody go wild, but it's definitely the smarter decision there to hold back and see if any of the Astralis members simply sprint at the doors and gun them down while they're in that animation. And luckily enough for Newers, he will also stave off elimination by swinging outside, because now they've picked up Iconic, and this is starting to look more like a 4-2, but we know how Astralis is in these situations. It doesn't mean they're going to slow down.
Astralis continuing to look for ways to fight back into this round after being denied outright twice in trying to enter the building. J9O, their big entry here, Iconic, has gone down already. Oxygen still exercising so much control, even outside of the site too. is leaving them in a bit of a rough patch here for Astralis. Despite that, though, we can see Forrest is going to try to open up a path forward as he throws the first Candela into the bathroom side of the site. No one able to follow through on it. No one having the confidence from Astralis to hop in through the window. Again, Dream has the top down from inside of Exhibition to shut down anyone that would try to hop through that window and play directly towards the site. So again, Astralis just kind of out of moves right now and stuck on their drones while they try to figure out exactly how to proceed forward.
Well, in fact, Forrest has actually rotated all the way to the west side of the map, and he'll be coming through on this end instead. Shuttle gets taken down, make it a 5 versus 1, and make it a 5v0 as Oxygen tie that one up with a bow. We'll be headed to the second half.
So with Oxygen finally rebounding here, giving themselves a much more respectable 2-4 scoreline at the end of the day. Now we're going to see them jump onto the attacking side, where they'll truly be tested here on Skyscraper with an opportunity to maybe bounce back into this game. But it is still going to be a lot of work, especially if Astralis can rebound, as we've been seeing, get themselves in the teeter-totter to go back and forth on rounds. That would be perfectly okay for Astralis, as they still have that very healthy 2-round lead to bank it on.
Now, this has been the side on Skyscraper that Astralis has looked the most devilish. So we'll see if they can continue that here. I'm really excited to see how Oxygen try and deal with this and if they can exploit anything that they've seen. Looks like we might have a potential rehost coming in here soon, folks, and indeed we will. So just bear with us here at the half so we're able to fix this up. But already some stuff to talk about, as that half was pretty interesting, especially for Astralis' sake. I like a lot of the different plays that we saw. Some clutch moments, especially starting off with how round 1 was with the Osa and Monty trying to work in for karaoke, which was just so awkward for them with Dream constantly hucking smokes at them. They're both stuck in this tiny little corner at the top of the stairwell. It's like, oh my God, please don't breathe in any of this. Like, I don't want to die, man. We got to get this plant down. But past that, Astralis have looked really solid. And then obviously we have Oxygen bouncing back in that last round and finding the early aggression from Astralis, exploiting it, making it way too hard for them to try and battle back inside of a 3v5.
So for Astralis, they're going to be able to have a little bit of a moment of relief here, even though things started to go slightly awry for them towards the end of the half. No reason for them to fear it just yet, though. They are still in control of this matchup. And now on the defensive side, they have a great capability to really lock in the lead and rocket themselves up to a 7th round here. It's going to be up to Oxygen, what they can bring to bear, how they can flush back this defensive pressure. Speaking just specifically about our Tea Room and Karaoke defense as well. Get those players back into the depths of Geisha, maybe playing around the stairs, and then have the real estate they need to go for the plant. But this being Astralis here, they're not going to go down and lose those positions without a fight. They'll have to get past 2, if not 3 members of this team before they can even think about assaulting that site. And that may be just a little bit too much to ask of our attacking roster here. Everybody has rejoined the lobby, folks, so we're just waiting on the actual start of the game. I want to confirm that everything is actually okay when we get ourselves back in game 2. So it should be another 2 to 3 minutes or so here, folks, and then we'll be hopefully returning to the round.
Yeah, past that, though, I mean, John, I just turned around, and do you see the amount of people that we have in this room? I mean, yesterday I thought we had a lot of people, but today, I mean, there's like 2,500 of you guys. How are you guys doing? Oh, come on. We know you can do better than that. It's the last series of the day. I said, how are you guys doing? I love you too, buddy. All right, guys, it has been so fantastic to have all of you back in the same room, under the same roof. This is exactly why we all love Rainbow Six Siege so very much. Give yourself a round of applause. You deserve it, you beautiful, beautiful people. We're going to be back in the game momentarily. We're just checking on a couple of things, and then we'll get right back into the action between these two.
Once again, we want to make sure that everything is perfectly valid here, and more importantly, that we have a solid competitive environment. So that's why these things do take a little bit of time sometimes, folks. So we appreciate your patience while we make sure that we have it all fixed and we can get ourselves back in a game without any further interruptions. Seems we're good to go, though, so let's jump back into it. It's the beginning of the second half. If you are just joining us, Astralis do have the lead right now at 4-2. We're going to try again.
We will try one more time. You know what they say, second time's a charm, guys. So we got that one figured out. But past that, John, how have you been feeling about this Oxygen roster throughout the group stage as well as the main stage right now? Do you think Newers especially has came to light? The tail end of NAL wasn't too hot for Oxygen, but this LAN.
I think there's still a little bit of work to be done for Nurse specifically, especially in these sort of environments here. He's not, and the thing is, right, we don't want to look to him to be like the only player that can stand out on this team. And I think they even said that at one point in an interview too, that it's not necessarily that the Nurs is the all-star or Laxing is the all-star. It's all a team effort for them, and that's the point they're trying to get it to. For his role specifically, like I said, I think there's a little bit of work to be done, maybe some missing confidence from time to time. As you're correct, even inside of the NAL, he's gone up and down a little bit, and you can see that to some extent at this event too. But I still think that at the moment, this is the best iteration of the Oxygen roster that we have seen over the 3 to 4 years that it's been together now.
Yeah, I think the craziest thing is when I was looking through statistics this morning, if I'm correct off the top of my head here, Newers is at a 1.24 rating, Iconic a 1.25. They are neck and neck, and that is 1, 2, 3. The only person ahead of them, Shaiko, with like a 1.26 or 1.27.
And that is very much the storyline we were going to go into with this match. Iconic versus Newers, Forest versus Laxing. It's these titans of both teams that are going to be making up the difference. Maybe not so much here in the mid-rounds of map 1, but when this series potentially goes the distance, if we end up on that third and final map here, and these guys will have been playing for like 3, 4 hours at that point, those are the players are going to have to step up and clutch out the big rounds here. The rest of their teammates might be running out of energy by that point.
Absolutely. I was talking to Cashflow, which is one of the managers for Astralis, and he was like, how do you feel about this matchup? And I told him, I feel as though Astralis is one of the only teams in North America that has that roster filled with talent where they can compete with a roster like Oxygen, because you don't have a slouch in any regard, in any position, whether it be firepower, utility usage, game sense. They're all so unbelievably stellar, and it's so difficult to try and fend off players like that when their support as Smoke is getting a 1v3 situation. He's like, oh, this is slight work. I'm just going to kill everybody. So Astralis, though, as we've seen, I mean, any of these players can pop off at any given moment in time. We've seen Shuttle run through people in the NAL. We saw Forest end things decisively yesterday on Skyscraper with not only a 3K, but a 4K to follow, just to make sure that everybody knew that he was here to play.
Folks, it looks like we are okay. So we're back in game now once again. For anybody who may have just joined us while we were on that break, it's the beginning of the second half, and Astralis is currently leading 4-2. After dropping a few rounds towards the end of the previous half, they're looking a little bit worse for wear. However, on the defensive side, they have the control. They have the capability to control the pacing now from this point forward and slow down the initial entries from Oxygen, maybe just remove their capability to get into the site outright. Let's see if they can get it done. Pretty straightforward operator lineup for the defense. The big change up there is going to be the Thorn that's been picked up from J90.
A pretty famous one for Astralis as well. This is their most used defensive operator in the NAL, and the only team to do it in the NAL with Thorn.
Once again, kind of an interesting pick, filling in a role that we haven't seen a whole lot of exploration in so much just as of yet here, but as we actually get back into the action, it's looking like Norris is going to start us off well by taking down DP Fire and giving Oxygen that clean opening kill.
Very well done. Unfortunately enough for Astralis, he is Jaeger and not Wamai, so won't have to deal with the blowback from that and the discs that they will be lacking. Those ADSs will still be around and be able to grab some grenades or anything of the sort that they might have to deal with. Shuttle will still be working his way around KBBQ downstairs, but nothing really going on. Has to move his way out towards Sushi Bar Restaurant to his side, and there's quite a bit of presence around this area. Instead, he'll back off towards Sushi. Just hold this for a time. Ventilation staff will actually get air jabbed here from Laxing. Just wanted to make sure that nobody can push out from under him and potentially shoot him off of this rappel. He's going to hold Terrace here for a moment.
Newers looking to rotate himself around as well. Will rappel himself back up over towards that second floor position and begin to insert himself a little bit more into the play. Astralis also get ready for this potential action to work their way in. Iconic will be brought down to 50 HP as he is seen at least on a cross by a window, but won't be knocked out just yet here. So far, that's only DP Fire that's been eliminated as Oxygen are taking the nice slow route to clear this out. And you can see both J90 and Iconic are aware of the route that Oxygen are taking, so they're going to try to get in the way of that.
This is what we've seen time and time again from the offensive unit here on Skyscraper. They want to try and compete for this mid-long hallway in the map so that you can potentially get a hold of Drum, have access to Geisha on the left-hand side, those two doors as well, and the central wall for T. It's a really high-traffic area for both squads to try and work their way through, and now it's up to Oxygen to attempt to do this. But this is also the great delay that we saw from Astralis yesterday, this exact position, and it's starting off extremely well again. Some shots out towards Lax, and he's actually going to get tagged, but fortunately enough for him, he'll rip the head off of Iconic.
3 for Astralis now. Jane, I know, gonna see if he can hide himself in an obscure corner here and go unnoticed as Oxygen clear out the rest of the site for themselves. Shuttle, though, has retreated away from his downstairs roam position. He's gonna regroup now with the only other teammate still alive, Forest, and get themselves back into probably either one of these sites to fend off the eventual push that should be coming in fairly soon from Oxygen. Now that they have the opening, and more importantly, now that the time is getting down to a dangerous point. 24 seconds left here for Oxygen to push their way forward. Jane, I know, on alert, will be spotted out. Shuttle fends off the first attempt at aggression here. Forest trying to put down as well the Osa while she was mid-shield deployment. It's not going to work. Shuttle has to rotate back around to take out Foxe instead here. Still locked into a 2v2 though. Jane, I know, pushes it further into Astralis' favor. Everything falls to Laxing. He does have the case control, but he has no time left. Has to put it down on the ground now, and he is able to get to that point. Where's the resistance? Where is the refrag? Here it is from Jane, I know, as he shuts down Laxing and gives Astralis the opener on the second hack.
Consistently, whenever I see Skyscraper defense from Astralis and we reach that minute mark and everyone's still in that middle hallway like we were talking about, Astralis has won the round every single time, consistently, even when they're down on man count. That is unprecedented, and it's all by the plays that you've seen here, especially from Shuttle, as he runs out the breach right into the hallway, kills one person, drops to the second floor to try and help out Jane, I know, and also, all at the same time, forcing Oxygen into a lack of information situation. They have no idea where any of these members are anymore. They have to try and recoup, and it just doesn't go off without a hitch.
2 more rounds is all Astralis need at this point, and the first map goes to them. Then it's time to focus up and worry about Oregon. Oxygen still looking for a way to turn this game back on its heel. They'll have to do so against a new site here, one that actually didn't really see Oxygen play into. That's going to be the other upstairs hold for Astralis on the opposite side. The map still will be an extension, specifically in areas like Gation Karaoke, for Astralis to play into and waste time for Oxygen's initial clear, but the presence will be focused, of course, over on this end, and we're going to see a few operator changes to facilitate that, most notably Iconic bringing back the Warden once again, and aside from that, Shuttle as well on the Aruni to block off some of these access points with the laser gates.
Well, this might be a little fast. We'll have to see here, because the vertical is indeed going to be on the Gara hook, so we'll see if he can potentially send some things high into the sky here. I don't know if he has a G8 or necessarily what he has as his primary. We'll have to find out here momentarily, but it does appear that he does have that, has the going as a secondary as well, so it should make things fairly straightforward for Amaru. Forrest, though, and the rest of Astralis have things laser gated over inside of the office space. Be holding onto this for a time. Go Prism outside just to be annoying yet again here and see if somebody wants to try and potentially get rid of it. Oh, Forrest, this is just so rude. So unbelievably rude as he's going to toss out another one, wait for the shot, and Laxing. There's quite a few extra bullets inside of that AK, Forrest. You might want to watch out for that.
So Laxing able to not only best the bait from Forrest, but outright destroy it. Forrest goes down, no damage in response to that either. Beautifully managed by Laxing, as Oxygen now have their entry point in from Terrace, be able to work their way forward.
Stop right now. Is that an Ash with an R4C?
That is an Ash, yes.
Oh my, somebody get me off this desk right now. I can't take it. This is amazing. We're back. Can somebody get a kill, Fox? Do something, please. Please show these people what the R4C can do. Even post-nerf. They're going to hop inside. They're going quick here. Fox and an operator that he's been known for quite some time, and as he works his way in through bathroom, Vertical can indeed get up this hatch, but you all know that at home. Only issue is that he'll have to go through a full animation in order to do so. Looks like they're going to try and pull Astralis' aggro somewhere else. Shuttle, as well as the rest of Astralis, await Oxygen here in their next move. A smoke in, but Iconic's good for that, obviously. Stuns in as well. Nobody wanted to make the forward move, and now Vertical's working his way in. This is looking like what we saw from Beast Coast, as the Nitro goes too far. Oxygen, they've got the plant, and yes, it will go down. Iconic stops one, but now it's down to a 3v3, making a 3v2 after Dream picks up Iconic.
Dream has the exhibition window. That's going to be the cross they need to stop these counter defuse attempts. DP fire will need support, but no, he can't get the plant. Shield down in time. Dream's too fast on the AK. He knocks out DP fire instead, and now Jane, I know, he's alone here. He's going to have to try and hop this in order to get it done. Hasn't even dealt with Laxing these crosses. They're too brutal. I don't know if Jane, I know, is going to be able to get this done here on the counter defuse. Nearly halfway there, but one final peek from Dream will lock it in as Oxygen stay alive and keep the fight going.
An incredible round from Oxygen. So much creativity. with Yamaru working his way in downstairs. I'm very sad we didn't get to see a little bit more from Foxay in the R4C situation, but it doesn't matter when you have plays like that from OXG. They're going to shore up this scoreline to 3-5. They're within 2 and stop Astralis from guaranteeing overtime.
Restoring the halftime advantage now, so both teams winning 1 so far here at the outset of the second. Astralis, though, still in the lead and with a big lead in siege terms in order to push themselves up onto 7 as well. Oxygen cannot breathe a sigh of relief just yet. You probably saw that on their player cams. They're staying focused here. Yeah, that's one, but that's only the traded round for the one they lost at the beginning of the half. Now they need to focus up and lock in this retry from Astralis in order to really get back into this game and stand a chance to win it.
Yes, indeed, but the big issue now is they won't be able to use the same strat that they just did. That was a one-off. Now Astralis will be ready for that if anybody tries to attempt to come up the hatch. Very unfortunate situation with that Nitro self in that plant as well. It just flew right through the hatch and blew up below them instead. Almost ended up flying into another Oxygen member's lap. Funny enough, that was indeed downstairs still. But besides that point, Astralis is going to be adding some new things to their arsenal as well. The Frost is going to be coming in for DP fire to try and slow some people down around windows or force them into a very critical decision. You either die to the Frost mat or you die to me, who is holding the Frost mat. So we'll have to see what that will possibly bring here for round 9. For Oxygen, though, they're lined up extremely straightforward. Foxay going to bring back the Ash and repping the set for his fallen ex-teammates.
So no direct contact between either team just yet. Oxygen still looking for a safe path to the inside, and they have found it over here. Will enter through bedroom closet to take that initial control. Watching out, of course, for any roaming presence that might have been deployed down here from Astralis, but they're not going to get it. And Foxay, as well with this charge, could potentially reveal one player from above him. It's going to be a little off the mark, but now dropping in through the hatch. Oh my God, what just happened? Who's behind him? He accidentally took out Foxay while trying to dispatch a Forest, dropping down that hatch. Very unfortunate for Oxygen, and ultimately they end up in the very same place they started at the beginning of this play. They're just going to be down to a 4v4. Moving in vertical, will take up Foxy's old position. Shuttle will be unable to catch him as he tries to go through this top-down angle. And on top of that, we're also going to see this breach start to be deployed towards Shuttle. We'll have to be cautious here as that canister going to start to be a little more vulnerable now that the wall real estate will begin to be opened up as well by Dream.
Absolutely. Vertical just too good at the video game. He not only has to take out the opponent, but his teammate just to make sure things that are things are balanced. About halfway through this round now, though, as both these teams have slowed down just a little bit when it comes to the frag department, still sending shots, but just nothing clicking. Still have to find some extra insight as to what's going on in this site. Dream's going to make some new angles just so it's harder to get into the actual office space. Some drones in now, and this will confirm that the area is clear, but that doesn't exactly mean that Oxygen's going to hop to anytime soon. That case is on Dream, so he'll continue to manage that window, but that also means that he needs to come in via that area or work his way around to the actual office breach. But as you can see, Astralis are playing for this as they've more or less shifted everything to this central area around the dry bar and deeper into sight.
Iconic will continue to roam around. Was mainly hunting over on the karaoke side to see if Oxygen would have gone for a bit more of a horizontal clear in order to get themselves better access to the site, but not what we ended up getting. And now both teams just seemingly stocked in their position here, not going to be able to have the confidence to move forward past what they've already controlled for themselves. J9O is unfortunately going to get hit by that flashbang as it goes right into his purview there, despite the magnet eating it up. Yours as well, waiting for the correct opportunity to swing himself up towards the top of the exhibition staircase. A drone will move it forward. There's his chance, saves a teammate's life potentially as well. Dream had just gone down. Still going to be a rough patch for Dream, though. Might not be able to bring him back up, but suddenly 2 kills come out of absolutely nowhere for Astralis. Shuttle as well as Iconic picking them both up here. Iconic still in the fight also, trying to keep it going as well. The shotgun pump from Shuttle knocks out Dream. Vertical with one exchange, but it is not enough. DP Fire moves right back in, finishes off the last member of OXG, and that'll be map point now set up for Astralis. They only need one more to lock in the 1-0 lead.
And it's like you said, Oxygen have to win the run back with something that's more basic. And unfortunately enough, it took the creative strategy in order to get the plant down for them to achieve success the last time. But this time around, Oxygen, they lose too many bodies, and a very unfortunate team kill at the beginning of the round more than likely could have changed their fate.
Astralis, only one out of these next three is all they need to control for themselves. And because they did 2 tries on the other site on the second floor, they can go right back into karaoke and tea room. Already controlled that at the very beginning of this half, so things are looking bleak, to say the least, at the moment for Oxygen. Oxygen, however, do have a few tricks up their sleeve, most notably in the form of, again, they can bring the Osaw here. She's been very hard to deal with against these attacks. If they can get the appropriate amount of utility down onto the ground this time, that could be a staging ground that Astralis might not be able to fight back against. Will we see any switch-ups, though, to add on to that, such as what Astralis was doing and bringing the Montaigne with this? And in fact, it's under the Osaw is not even going to be in play. That's now been re-picked out by Foxe. They're going to go for a Jackal instead to try to lock down these more mobile members of Astralis inside of the early to mid-round. And I would agree with this decision. If they can get the advantage there where they've been struggling to do so, that'll make the attack onto the site a lot easier.
I think honestly, this isn't going to do exactly what Oxygen wanted to do. Yes, they can get the information, but a lot of that mid-round has been Astralis delaying with utility, and yeah, you might have the info on where they're standing, but does that mean that you want to push through a toxic smoke? I don't necessarily know. We'll have to see how this builds up here, as Oxygen don't have access to any shielders, and that's what we saw from Astralis time and time again on their offense to gather a lot of control. Oxygen, as John just said, switching over the Osa to a Jackal. So, we'll see what Foxe can achieve now, as he'll be starting things off over at ventilation units. A lot of Astralis footsteps are still upstairs, for a matter of fact, but as this timer gets lower, they will indeed start going away. They only stick around for about 1 minute and 30 seconds, so those prep phase footsteps will go away here at about a 2-minute mark.
Once again, much like quite a few of these past rounds, everything is going to go quiet while both teams desperately hunt for a player that they can abuse inside of this first 2 minutes. Heavy drone emphasis at the moment for Oxygen. 3 of them, in fact, sitting on them. Just Nures and Laxing actually on their players, working on clearing things out. They'll start to change up a little bit now as Foxe works his way in. We'll find out the position of a mute, but again, not really going to be able to do anything from that. Shuttle is long gone in the depths of the site, so that intel will be of very minimal use for Oxygen.
Yeah, a very strong change happened to Jackal a little while ago, where depending on how old the footsteps are, you get a certain amount of pings. So when they're green, I believe you only get 2 or necessarily 1. I believe it's 2 though. But either way, it's going to be less information than he used to get, and also it gives you less of a chance to try and pick up any of the defensive members when they are being pinged out. And I have some players on different angles here, as well as from underneath. Vertical will be tossing in a frag grenade. Doesn't achieve all that much, except making some new holes to play around. With 1 minute and 15 seconds, we're starting to reach a very similar circumstance to the last round.
Vert hoping for someone on Astralis to be messing around with the stairs, but Astralis staying cool, calm, and collected, not moving an inch from their current positions closer to the site, potentially extended out a little bit from that. Members of Oxygen still hunting with nades, so you can see Vertical getting primed up for one right now, but no good intel. You can see that the comms are out, probably the drone in position upstairs that say this player's running around, and it still nearly catches DP fire. Very well placed by Vertical, but the follow-up is not going to be there. No good intel onto the position of DP fire, so he's going to be able to maintain. Gets himself out with another magnet there, too, to eat up any of the aggression that'll come in from Oxygen out on the balcony.
Oxygen want Astralis to peak so very badly right now, but they simply refuse. You have to push into us. We are not giving you this round for free. Skyscraper is ours, so come take it. Foxe will try and move up the stairwell. He's gunned down by Iconic, who's been lurking for forever. He's going to re-peek before he picks up Dream. It's a trade game back and forth. 3v3. Oxygen have to get a plant down, though. Where is it going to go? They're swinging back and forth. Have some good info, but they're going to lose yet another important gunfight. J90 guns down one, force with the other, and DP fire with the last round. Skyscraper is Astralis's. Astralis fans, stand up.
Inside of regulation as well, Astralis take a confident opening win to this series at 7-3, but it's not over just yet. We've got some of the most quintessential maps in North America. Oregon is on deck. Both these teams have played it so many times the past few months, and now they'll have to face off against each other on it one final time to decide who can go on to the grand finals of a major to face off against another representative from their region waiting inside of it. It's going to be Dark Zero on the other side, as they already carved their way forward to the final earlier today. We're going to go to a short break, ladies and gentlemen. When we come back, map number 2 is coming up between both of these teams.
Welcome back, everybody. How about that? Wow, new map coming in. That's pretty sick.
That's wild. I didn't even know that was coming up, but yeah, that looks really, really exciting.
Surprises for all of us here. And but you know, if you're an Astralis fan, no surprise with that first map. It was a victory for them over Oxygen. A bit more one-sided than I think we were expecting. I was surprised by that one. Fresh, what do you think, man?
I feel like yesterday Oxygen were very kind of nonchalant about you shouldn't take us to Skyscraper against BDS, and then Astralis went and did it. The difference was Astralis know Skyscraper like the back of their hand. They are so good on that map. They've just shown Oxygen up. They've made them look silly on it.
Yeah, it really felt like on that first half, OXG were kind of butting their heads against a wall. They couldn't really get anything going on a couple of those defensive bomb sites, and then when they moved over to that attacking side, it was just easier for Astralis to trade out, get a couple of those kills, and win a more variety of bomb sites, and that really was all there was for them.
Yeah, honestly, with a 7-3 victory, it'd feel like Oxygen just couldn't get much of anything going there. It's going to be interesting. We're going to check out a few moments from that, but that was, again, like Astralis, we talked about how sometimes they can make little missteps here and there, but they have the clutch factor to bring it back. They didn't need any of that there. They were just finding better angles, winning better gunfights, it seems like.
I feel like they had a really good grasp on how to attack the T karaoke room, and they got, what was that?
Yeah.
3 attacks on that one particular site. They also, Oxygen, I think they have a bit of a misplay on this map because they don't play Office, which is the usual secondary site on this map. So Oxygen are trying to kind of scramble around to go to the tertiary sites to try and find round wins on the defense. It just shouldn't be that hard. And I feel like as soon as Astralis had a grip on Oxygen's T-room defense, it really was over because they couldn't do an awful lot.
Yeah, I suppose that's true. I mean, it's at the end of the day, I mean, yeah, you need to be able to come at that a little bit better. And so Oxygen, now they'll have a chance to kind of reevaluate things, right? Going to the next map, they'll be able to have a chance to sort of like revamp things, rethink things a little bit, and maybe kind of shake off a little bit of the nerves too, because although this isn't a team you would associate with a lot of nerves, a loss like that in the first map of the semis has got to affect you, right?
Yeah, well, this is their first loss of the entire tournament in terms of a map. So it's going to be huge, but they will know that they've got the quality. Obviously, it's very clearly the fact that 2 teams have picked that map into them is very clearly not their map. So they've just got to shake it off, and they've got to go on to the next map.
Exactly. Well, we're going to go on to something a little bit new this weekend. We have Jesse standing by with some telestration to do, being able to break down some of the rounds from that last map in a way that we have not been able to enjoy yet here at Charlotte. So Jesse, take it away.
Thank you very much, Doa. Yes, Fresh mentioned it briefly on the desk, but what we saw on this matchup was we saw Oxygen defending the same bomb site 3 times, T-Room and Karaoke in rounds 1, 3, and 5. And so it's not often an attacking team can beat a defensive team's primary bomb site 3 times in a row. So let's watch and see how they did it. I've got round 1 paired up first here, and I just want to go a little bit forward, and I want to just break down kind of what the idea of this attack is. First of all, the Monty is the main thing that's going to be pushing in through around the Black Stairs area to get into the bomb site and get ready for that plant to go down. Now, they've got an Osa here as well that's going to follow him up. She's also put a shield this way to try to protect from any player that might want to jump out, go for an aggressive swing on them, and really go for a flank that could ruin their day. The other thing that they've got, and just notice down at the bottom, 2 players getting ready to pinch in from the other side of the bomb site. They're going to be huge in a little bit here as well. Now, the best way that Oxygen have to deny against this is the smoke. What they've got in that one bomb site there, swinging out is Dream. He's going to be trying to smoke these out with the Toxic Babes. The 2 shield ops, they can't be shot, so they are in position, but here's the Toxic Babes. Unfortunately, they're just not landing for Dream. The Monty goes deeper into the bomb site. The Osa backs up a little bit. Meanwhile, those bottom players push forward in through the drum, and they're able to get into this position where they can cut off a lot of these players in the hallways. There's going to be a trade right there that helps them out. And at this point, they've honestly got control. You can see here, they've managed to take full control of the bomb site. We've got 1 player swinging in as well. So what they've been able to do is they're able to just get in through the window, and this is full control off of, honestly, just a couple of shields. So that's round 1, and if we're looking at Oxygen's defense, realistically, they haven't done a great job of defending against this. So they bring it back round 3. They know there's things that they can improve on, and if we play this round, we'll see the big difference. 2 C4s down in the pockets of Flaxing and Newers. They didn't have this before, so we'll see how this works out for them. Is that going to be enough to deny the play? You see they're still playing down below. Here they are down in the basement. Kills are going down, but what we'll see right here on the bottom floor, one man who's very important in denying this bottom pressure, there he is. It's Shuttle. A lone mission to deny these 2 C4s down below, and he can't do it all by himself, but he does do a lot of work. Let's watch.
gets the trade. Beautiful pick to pick up those one players, gets Laxing, and now Newers is all alone down to the basement. Meanwhile, those other site players are pushing deep. The Monty went so far into that bomb site, to the point where now it's all Newers all alone, and although he's put the C4 in the right spot, he's gonna pop it and be able to deny that plant. He's still just not in a large enough man advantage to win this round out, and it's unfortunately not gonna be his game. Let's go to round 5. This is the final time they defended this bomb site, and this was one that really Astralis switched up on. They didn't go for the shield strat anymore. They went full on the bottom floor. They knew this is where they could really expose the defense of Oxygen, so they decided to come around through the basement, and we can see Astralis, they've really done a great job here. OXG are still trying to play below, but after they lost that first man, they moved everybody up to that top floor. They weren't able to win these gunfights through the site. It got a little crazy for Astralis this third time. It got a little bit closer for sure. I like the Toxic Babes on the windows. There's definitely adaptations happening, but Fox going down is really the key player, and from there, Astralis do exactly what they do best. It's trades non-stop, time and time again. Beautifully done by Astralis. We'll attack the same bomb site 3 times and get a massive lead early in this game.
Down to it, yeah. I mean, Astralis, you can't put them in a situation where they can get those trades and be favorable with it. But let's look ahead to the next map fresh. We're going to Oregon next. So Astralis, talking about them, do they need to really think of anything different when they're coming into this particular map, or can they just kind of continue to keep up with their doing?
I think they just need to keep up with what they're doing. They clearly have quite a good read on how Oxygen do things. They've done their homework. You can see just by the way they had a couple of different attacks there on that T-room attack. Going into Oregon, obviously this isn't their map pick, so they would have been expecting it though. You know, they've got great support staff behind the scenes, so it's just about keep doing what you're doing, keep picking up those little wins where you can with your counter analysis and going from there.
Yeah, for sure. Jesse, what do you think? Agree? Disagree?
Yeah, I think so. I think, like, moving on, we do see Auction being such a well-rounded squad. Oregon is definitely a map that I think, as far as Auction are concerned, it's not one that they've been bad at, right? They did manage to beat BDS here. Again, we talk about those previous VODs that are available for them to try to look back on, but I think that shows confidence. It shows that they're familiar with this map. They should be able to bring it back and force a 3-map series. At least I hope so, because it is not time for Auction to go home. At least doesn't feel like it.
I hope so too. I mean, you can't imagine Oxygen's tournament run ending here. It just does not seem possible, but it is. Astralis got the first map. They can get the 2-0. They can send themselves to the grand finals unless Oxygen digs deep and finds a way to tie this series up on Oregon. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll be able to find out if they can do just that here at the Charlotte Major.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Major. We are here live from the Charlotte Convention Center, and we are just moments away from jumping back into this riveting series between Astralis and Oxygen. We've already locked in which region is dominant. Now we need to see which teams will stay dominant. At the moment, it's looking like that could be Astralis here, a 7-3 victory, but that's on their own map pick. Now we get ready to head to our second one on Oregon, which should be neutral territory for both of these teams, despite it being Oxygen's pick.
Absolutely the case, my friend, and not a lot of people thinking that Astralis could potentially take this series here today. In fact, I think all of the talent except me picked Oxygen. So this is really, really interesting. I think that it's honestly going to go the full distance, but I bumped into Astralis in between maps, and the first thing that Jane I know said to me was, don't get too comfortable because we're going to end it in 2-0. So I don't know, man. We'll see if his word is true, but we are not going to have to take too long to figure that out. 44% of you agree with Astralis on Twitter, but Oxygen have their map pick here on Oregon. Speaking of which, it starts now.
We're getting into it, ladies and gentlemen. This could very well decide the grand finals in just a few minutes. Let's get loud, let's get noisy, because it's time for map number 2. We're live with the bands, and let's see who Oxygen want to knock out. They've got our first and final one. Astralis will have the 2 middle ones. Just refer to the colors to represent which team's ban is which. Oxygen, as the first attacker ban, is going to knock out Ying. Makes perfect sense. Ying is absolutely quintessential, especially to basement attacks, so they're going to remove that comfortability factor from Astralis one more time.
She's been so strong for quite some time now, especially on a map like this, as you were saying, John. And, well, past that, what are they thinking for the secondary offensive ban? It's going to be Maverick. That leaves Thatcher up. But does that also mean that we're going to see a Kaid ban, so they don't have to work Thatcher in when they want to? We're going to have to see. It looks like for Astralis, they'll be getting rid of Valkyrie. It's going to be up to Oxygen if they want to remove Kaid.
This will put these teams on attack into a bit of an awkward position, almost needing to bring Thatcher in now to properly get hatch access and things like that. Mira, though, the expected final ban, no surprises there. Valkyrie and Mira have been through the highest ban operators at this event, so no surprise there that they trend in one final time, potentially, on this second map of the series here. But we're getting into it, and it's Astralis on the attacking side, Oxygen on the defense. They'll be going to the expected initial site here. Bit of an aggressive operator lineup in order to go downstairs into our basement, but still should be bringing the appropriate amount of utility to slow things down. Notably, there's Dream on the smoke there to delay things. Foxy as well, going to see if he can catch any players that'll be a little bit too aggressive with that Thorn utility coming out.
Pretty interesting that we don't see a Kaid come out. Pretty interesting that we also don't see any EMPs come out from the offense, but both of these teams staying away from those for the time being. Oxygen obviously headed downstairs. We've been seeing this setup so many times throughout. So looks like we might have a potential reset here, but we're going to get it out of the way early. So just give us a moment, folks. It's going to require literally no time at all, as we haven't even played a single round. So our observer doesn't even have to set anything up. He's just got to open the lobby and be like, hey guys, we're playing Oregon.
Yep, so just going to get everybody back into it. Bear with us once again, folks. We apologize for the delay of game. Don't want to make sure that our attackers have, or we want to make sure that our attackers have access to all 5 drones when they work their way in. So we are going to make sure that this is fixed before we lock in the rounds. So once again, as Stokes mentioned, should only take a second to retry. This will just confirm, so you guys might miss probably about half the prep phase or so while we make sure that this drone bug does not reoccur for a second time here when we try it again.
Yes, indeed. But as we'd seen, Oxygen is headed towards the basement. Also, the operator lineup's already locked in, so no changing of those in between what we just saw in this follow-up round. So that means we're going to be back downstairs. We'll have the alibi still in play for Oxygen as well, with some potentially interesting angles being picked up by that. But past that, though, we actually had another pretty cool pick, if you guys saw, from Foxay, as he picked up Thorn, and we actually don't see Thorn too often downstairs, so this could get interesting.
Yep, it's going to be the same operator picks, though, so those will all stay in play on the rehost once we do have it confirmed and locked in. For Astralis, of course, they can still potentially change up their own fates as they have access to the repicks, so we have potential for them to still switch some things up in that regard, although they more than likely have the appropriate lineup to work their way in. Most notably, Iconic being back on the very comfortable pick of Finko, too, since she was banned out on map number 1 here. She'll be coming back into play not only for Iconic and Astralis, but as soon as we see Oxygen get themselves back on the attack, they also we'll certainly be utilizing that when we get back in game here. So away from that, we do have to ask ourselves the question, and unfortunately we won't get an answer until we do go back into game, about how exactly Oxygen is going to approach things when it comes to the roam game. This lineup does appear as though they're going to be able to have the capability to extend out quite a bit, maybe that extension into security and across from freezer stairs to try and waste some of the time on the small tower clear that Astralis will more than likely go for. And obviously, if they can put that pressure into the correct position, maybe a kill or two as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think they're going to have a lot of that kill pressure, just given the LMGs and the play that we've seen out of them recently. And the crazy thing is past that, we find a lot of success with these other operators in the hands that they are given to for Astralis, like Habana, for instance. It's not exactly an operator you'd expect to go get every single frag, but when Forrest is playing her, his play style is so aggressive sometimes, and he almost seems like he can find that prime position to pull around away from the defense whenever necessary. And again, that's even just like one out of the other two. We have the other two with the LMGs. We still have Shuttle to talk about with the sledge, and you know, everything that potentially Astralis can bring to the table here. I think it's going to be a heck of a barn burner, if I do say so myself. Obviously, Oregon has some pretty slow beginnings, but it usually ends up with a pretty explosive flourish.
Absolutely the case here. So for Oxygen, they're up against the wall. They need to find this winning strategy. This may be why we're starting to see some things changing up in their operator lineups, bringing the somewhat unexpected choices here into their initial basement defense. They may only have this game remaining here to try to change up their own fate, to keep themselves in playoff contention. So they need to bring everything they possibly can to bear in this matchup here. Important to note, too, that the next challenger will know them just as well, if not better, than Astralis knows them, and that it'll be against Dark Zero. So Oxygen truly has quite a few familiar faces waiting in the wings if they're able to get past this and on to the grand finals. The very same thing, of course, will be true for Astralis. Both these teams having an excellent NAL season, looking to pop it off by trying to take home a major victory. That would certainly be quite a few months' run that you can be proud of, but in order to do that, they have to get past each other first. The number 1 and number 2 NAL seeds now going head-to-head here in the semifinals of Sharp.
Yes, indeed, and quite the stage that they both had. Astralis ending up on the top of the heap, and Oxygen, a team who had such a strong start, actually finishing second. They slowed down just at the tail end of the NAL, and it made things a little difficult for them, but it made a prime opening for Astralis to be able to slide in. You could say the same for X, at a team that we didn't really see doing all that much early on in the stage, but eventually finishing top 4 alongside Dark Zero, who, funny enough, had to beat SSG in a deathmatch properly in order to get here in the first place. So, and obviously they're going all the way to the grand finals. So some very interesting things that we've seen over the last handful of weeks and months for Rainbow Six Siege.
We're gonna try this one more time, folks. Still working on getting ourselves a live round. So once more, our sincerest apologies for the delay of game. We're making sure that we get this started as quickly as possible. But it is also very important. The number 1 priority at this point is the competitive integrity of the match. We're going to make sure that nothing is getting in the way of our attackers or defenders as they try their hardest to fight and lift that trophy that you guys have seen already quite a few times sitting over on the analysis desk. Things continuing to look promising here for Oxygen is, like we said, heading back over to Oregon. This is much more familiar territory than Skyscraper was. Yes, Oxygen did manage to handle things in yesterday's game versus BDS on that map, but it seems like they may have bitten off a little bit too much, taking Astralis to it. As Fresh alluded to, this team is looking fantastic on that map, so teams will certainly have to think twice about going up against them on it in the future, whether they're inside of North America or fighting them from Europe or another region.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, so it's going to take us a little while longer just to get this figured out. So stick with us while we send you to a short break, and we'll be back momentarily.
And we are finally live, ladies and gentlemen, into the first round of Oregon between Oxygen and Astralis. Astralis have the edge. They just need to close out this map, and they'll be moving on to the grand finals to face off against DZ. But Oxygen looking to stop them, looking to send us to a third and final map inside of Theme Park instead. So let's see if they can get it done, as they do have the defensive start here, which should give them a nice little boost for the first half.
Oxygen has to stave off elimination by picking up this map. And ladies and gentlemen, do they have any help in the crowd? There we go. We got some Oxygen assistance here, so hopefully they won't have to be put on life support just yet. Newers be holding things down inside of Freezer. Fox A with pretty aggressive hold here. Back stairs. Nobody wanted to push forward. Well, except for Iconic, who's currently poised right outside of the kitchen hallway. Could get pretty aggro here. Vertical waiting this, though. Seeing if he could potentially get one himself, but a drone will come in and actually find him instead. Gonna be a swing here from Iconic, and oh my god!
Should have kept the
Vertical immediately decimated by the LMG.
Immediately finding impact as soon as the Finca is put back into his hands. Iconic making massive impact right at the very start of this game by knocking out Vertical here. Gonna look to get himself another one, and he may very well do it. There's a second one. It's an attempted flank from Laxing, but no, Iconic reads into it, shuts him down, and has single-handedly put this down to a 5v3.
We had some pretty interesting offensive bans, but maybe you wanted to take the Finca away again because Iconic is already getting away with far too much. Forrest will pre-fire where he stood yesterday and stood out of classroom and was able to grasp a hold of at least one kill. J9O, though, will take down Newers as he attempts to rotate through Z. Astralis already with a huge man advantage.
Dream trying to turn this around a little bit, but he's caught mid-reload. That's the problem with that SMG-11. You've got to reload after nearly every single engagement. Fox 8 at minimum will be able to exchange that frag out, but look, he's alone, surrounded by every single member of Astralis, and there's nowhere to run. They spend no time taking him down, and Astralis get a confident first round going here on Oregon. They're out for blood. They're out for a quick victory and trying to get themselves into that final position.
Now, I'm not worried for Oxygen just yet. This is where the worry will start to steep in this next round, where Oxygen could potentially already lose two of these defenses. Astralis could already pick the two up that they should necessarily get on Oregon. It's been tending to lean towards the defense, but I mean, it's just been so difficult. Iconic has been feeling himself as well. I think the big thing for Astralis was getting that first game out of the way with the crowd. And it wasn't that it was necessarily affecting them, it's just that all of you in this room, you do add an X factor, let me tell you. There is just that little extra bit of pressure as everyone is looking at every single move that you make. But for Astralis, it's actually empowered them. It made it to where they feel more at home than ever. And now for Oxygen, they are feeling that wrath. The wrath of a Titan from Astralis here. We'll see if they can potentially push this even farther as Oxygen will head back downstairs to see if they can successfully defend the basement.
Yeah, Oxygen again calling for an immediate retry of the site. This is what they were doing with T and Karaoke on the last map, but ultimately did not serve to give them an advantage to keep retrying that. We saw Jesse break down at one point during the analysis desk. They played it 3 times and lost every single one of them, handing over the large majority of Astralis' rounds as they just needed to repeat the same success they had already found for themselves. Now, it's going to be a little different this time. You guys probably noticed the operator lineup changing slightly for Oxygen here, so they're going to try and pull things back a bit more. Actually, no, never mind. It's not looking like that's the case. They still want this early round fight. So you've got 1, 2, 3 players up on top, roaming around, trying to find entering players from Astralis, and this time, they'll succeed in getting it. J9O is going to be knocked out by Newers at the beginning, and now they can call for the retreat back down into the depths of the basement.
Much stronger start here for Oxygen. J9O will be taken down, no longer having access to Zofia, and those impacts as well as those concussions. That LMG obviously playing into it quite handily as well. But speaking of which, another gun with quite a deep magazine will take down Fox A. The V308 of the Lion rips him to pieces, and now we're equalized here. Still plenty of time on the board, though, although we've already had some very early action. Only about 1 minute and 10 seconds have went off the clock as Astralis continues to work the outside of the building. Force has actually worked his way in. He's over in classroom right now, coming in through split. He's the Hatch Queen Habana, so this is his job now. He must get rid of all of these around the map and give Astralis an easier way in order to work in.
Forrest continuing to investigate the big tower area and make sure no one from Oxygen has crept up to pull off like the Laxing flank we saw after Iconic picked up his first kill. It was on the last round there. None of that going to be happening, though. Oxygen already took the opening kill in their favor, so they did not feel the need to stick around in their own game, except for challenging the staircase. They've all fallen back and are playing into the depths of their own defenses now, letting Astralis make the first move next, just as Astralis was very much doing towards the end of our previous map.
Yes, indeed. And now Astralis, they've set up for this execution. They're going to be clearing things out. Double nade from Iconic just to make sure that Freezer's clear. Nobody challenging that, but speaking of challenging, DP Fire with his second kill of the round. They're going to pull ahead yet again. Frag grenade in, a challenge and a win here for Newers, but Forest battles back yet again. Astralis, time and time again in these low time executes, they've been able to use this man advantage and win out these rounds, but luckily enough, Oxygen, they're finally shooting back. It's a 2 versus 2 as they bounce back and forth off these angles. Iconic now inside of Freezer Hall. Might have one that he's able to grasp a hold of, though, as he will quickly beat apart the bulletproof camera. Laxi will start swinging wide here towards the back end, but Iconic's ready for it. It's all down to Newers. A triple kill for him. Aquadaby's able to get it, but very low on HP. Iconic still has one Adrenal Surge as well, but it's on cooldown. That LMG, so dangerous, depending on the angle that he chooses here. Newers crouched and close. He's ready for the fight, and he loses it. Astralis will grab a hold of round 2. It's a 2-0 lead.
Oxygen, you may have made a mistake leaving Finka in play for this one, because Iconic is immediately not only won the second round, but started off the first round as well with his own impact performance there. The entries and the clutch has already been brought out. This is bad news for Oxygen, as they're 0-2 on basement defenses. Finally going to shift away from that, though, and head towards an upstairs defense. Things are just not clicking together here on the downstairs site.
Well, let me make it worse for you. Statistically speaking, that's the best site in the entire map, and they can't pick up a round to save their lives, even when it gets down to these 3v3s. And again, Astralis inside of these clutch moments, they're so very strong. It seems like there's really not another team at the current moment that can try and handle what they can do, the way that they play off each other, the synergization. It's been so crazy to watch. Been amazing, in fact. And now Astralis with round 3 and a potential to already go up 3 rounds on the offensive side of Oregon.
Oregon continuing to showcase issues for Oxygen. However, to some extent, they throw themselves right back into it due to their choice of site. Retrying things upstairs could yield results, but as Stokes was mentioning, not necessarily guaranteed. Statistically speaking, this is a little bit of a worse site for the defense, but Oxygen may be faring a bit better on it. Their operator lineup going to shift along with it here. Some mainstays will stick around, but we'll see Goyo brought in for Laxing to try and delay the quick play from Astralis, and a few other things switched up as well, such as Newers going over to the Cade to try and lock out the access to some of these walls.
Oh, well, that was quite close, although Forrest more than likely not knowing. Nitro Cell out, and that'll be a pure waste from Newers. Just feeling as though he could potentially get a freebie if that goes right, but obviously chose wrong. Oxygen now, though, we'll just play it a little bit closer to the actual site. We have some extended players downstairs inside of security, but this is fairly straightforward. We see this a decent amount on this, as well as J9O adopting the game's window. This is something we see quite often as well, and usually the other players are ready for it, but quite a few kills have happened at even this LAN with that window, with how much we usually see it traffic through. Now for Forrest, though, he's going to adjust over towards the balcony. They're trying to get Master popped open here as Oxygen slowly works their way back to site.
Impact gonna go in, see if he can knock out the second charge on that Selman. Should have been able to do the job. Nicely thrown out by Oxygen, just giving them the small breach to work with here. Astralis will have to use another one in order to get that open, but Forrest only has one more in pocket, so maybe thinking about saving that for a more useful wall a bit later on in the round. Either way, Astralis starting to surround the white stairs and a few other access points to the site to begin looking for the path forward. But they haven't even cleared out this first floor extension either. Vertical continues to maintain pressure on the inside of the kitchen and security positions, which is going to cause massive issues for Astralis if they try to ignore it and head right up the white stairs into sight.
Well, Foxy is going to be on the white stairs holding that down, so it won't be a direct route for them. They'll have to go through him first. He'll be droned out, has the Goyo. Able to potentially pop that later on. Those ones playing the big window. What a shot from Fox as he'll take down J9O, an immediate headshot practically, but gunned down and burned alive. Laxi will get one. A nice dance here from Forrest. The shuttle picks up with one as well, but Astralis, this is what we've been talking about. They've been so difficult to deal with when they get aggressive. Dream to swing in. Dream picks up one. It's all down to Dream versus Forrest. Dream with the shot. gun will seal the deal, and Oxygen finally able to pick up a round.
Minimal support from his other teammate, but that didn't stop him. Dream with a huge clutch right there in the 1v2, puts Oxygen onto the right footing, and finally, that upstairs hold bears fruit for the Oxygen defense. Seemed like they were much more familiar about how to approach that, as well as abuse the attack from Astralis there, but that doesn't mean it wasn't scary here. Specifically, the insertion was looking like Astralis might have been able to clean sweep the defense, but Dream brings it back with his stalwart hold on the inside of the big dorms.
Well, you got to get one to at least start to get the ball rolling. Oxygen have finally got off the starting line. And now they're going to head towards Meeting and Kitchen. This site pretty unique in its setup, especially how the top floor and the bottom floor plays into it. Not only do you have to worry about Attic, but you have to worry about somebody playing around E-Box with the potential to nitro cell your planter if you do go for stage. We also see some offensive units try and take the top floor and work their way in through dorms, where they'll get the single panel for Kitchen after taking through small and try and plant on the middle island pillar. That's a pretty common one as well. We'll see how Oxygen try and build up their defenses around these two known factors.
10 seconds to go. No confidence in that basement play just yet, but when they have the capability to roam, get in the face, and interrupt the movement of Astralis, that's when they feel like they can control this game. And generally speaking, so far they've been correct about that theory here. They cannot let Astralis move forward with their game plan. They have to get in the way of it, trip it up, because it's those mid-round adjustments where Astralis will start to struggle slightly and run into problems, potentially making up the difference to get themselves into a site. Oxygen has struggled tremendously, though, with getting that advantage in the large majority of this rounds. So maybe finally going to these further out sites are going to yield results. However, they still have to account for the fact that they'll eventually have to return to the basement, specifically after this round, if they lock this one in.
Slow start now for Astralis, not nearly as aggressive as what we had once saw, but as we'd seen the last round, that doesn't mean that things won't end in a pretty convincing way for one of these teams. Foxay will try and pick some things up inside of Meeting. Deployable shield now out for Dream, as we have the exothermic go down for Forest, and this is where things could get fun. They're going for the back end of Meeting. A pretty interesting plant spot, especially with how many bodies of Astralis they have around the spot now, so could potentially have a pretty well planned out at least order of execution here. Foxay, though, will continue to hold on. They most definitely know that this breach has happened. It's just, what does Astralis do with it past this point?
CJ, I know, dropping down from his T2 position here, T3 position, be able to try and fire back against the players inside of Attic. No dice, though, in finding them out. Instead, it's going to be Iconic. They get sussed out this time and knocked out without any kills to return it, and minimal damage, too. Only a little bit going on to Newers there. Aside from that, no real impact made by him this time. And, of course, the utility and Nades will die along with him. Forest ready to open up the back of stage, though. That'll be the first attacking route available for Astralis, but it's very, very light here. Laxing, in the meanwhile, just hard locked on that angle. He doesn't care about the tracers coming in through the back of stage there. Just how low it's brought him. Foxay, the same thing befalling him now, as he has no reinforcements on these garage panels. He's going to try to impact it, but DP Fire's got the shot from the back and will take him down before he has a chance to win the fight up front.
Incredibly unfortunate for Fox. He thinks he can sneak into garage unbeknownst to the offense, but there's a drone waiting inside of there, and that's the kill they've been looking for. Dream, though, will have the cross now for garage with Laxon coming down main stairs, but this doesn't seem to be where Astralis actually wants to work in from. In fact, Shuttle's coming in the bottom of white stairs at the current moment. He'll get gunned down, though, from vertical with a nice catch. DP Fire to fight back, though, as it goes into a 3 versus 3. J90 knows one is crossing inside of C. Constant shots going back and forth as Forest is already halfway done with this plan. The security player's dead. J90 is guaranteed the plan. Laxy's on low HP. He's dead as well. It's all down to Vert, the best player in the NAL statistically, and he's dead and gone. Let him know, J90. Astralis is here to stay.
Astralis immediately rebounding after their first lost round here on the second map. They're not letting anything stop them. Even with their primary entry going down, they're still able to immediately rebound and take control of the site. Oxygen, in the meanwhile, almost seems like they're overplaying their strategy a little bit here, trying to rotate so heavily against 1 or 2 players. They leave a massive gap open for Astralis to walk right into the site and get a clean plant going for themselves.
Yeah, I mean, the plant's going on all the way over in Meeting, and J90 is hounding 2 players over inside of C, and past that, I mean, vertical. You're rotating all the way down Freezer stairs. This plant's already done. Your nitro cell, anything with that really isn't going to matter all that much. You could potentially try and get a flank off on one of the other stairwells, but you should probably try and help your teammate that's taking a gunfight with a guy in an LMG. It's just very unfortunate right now. It's extremely sloppy from Oxygen in a lot of different regards. We expect a little bit more at the current moment, but that's exactly why Redeemer has called this timeout. He can see a few of these gaps that Astralis are exploiting very handedly, making a lot of these situations quite difficult. But now the big issue is that Astralis can guarantee with this round that Oxygen cannot tie the half. And defenses on Oregon matter so much to this map's play.
Astralis really looking to lock themselves in and leave no room for an Oxygen comeback. Despite this, Oxygen now finally getting some input from their coach on how to approach the basement site. Will return to it for a third time. Will they finally lock it in? Or is it going to end up being like T-Room back on the last map where they're just never able to secure their home site that they use to springboard onto the others? Upstairs has somewhat become it by circumstance. It's the only one they've been able to lock in for themselves. Change-ups will be there for Astralis in relatively minor scope here, but okay, never mind. It's gotten a bit more major now because of DP Fire's choice to bring a blitz into the fold for the construction execute.
Well, I know that I like to have fun. Astralis fans, do you like to have fun? Let's get into this round. Let's see what DP Fire is capable of, because I think it's coming pretty hot. Iconic, he's got the go now. Forrest already has a kill. Oh my God. Here we go. Iconic set up. The blitz is going to push in. Nobody's playing elbow. Found one of you, though. Blinded. Hip Fire's out. Able to get it. Laxing shuts down Iconic. DP Fire has control of elbow. Oxygen's game plan has already fallen to pieces.
Astralis have to hold back for a moment. They need teammate support, but it's here in the form of Forrest. He takes out one defender, now two from the inside the freezer. Dream's gonna run though, and he's got two to respond to it. This round's not over yet. Two more kills to go. It'd be a 1v4 clutch from Dream if he can get it done, but he'll lose a large amount of HP. Trying to transition out into the main hallway. He'll wrap one more time, moving over into greener pastures for himself, trying to line up these SMG-11 crosses, but he's only given Astralis the room to get their plant down and set up post-plant positioning. Dream may have just locked himself into his own grave, and indeed, that will be the case as Forrest gets one more going, and the advantage is secure regardless of the outcome of the last round, with Astralis getting their fourth round.
They just look too strong, Blue. It looks as though Oxygen aren't even playing the same game at the current moment. They're simply just trying to stay alive. That's all they can do at the current moment, especially with Forrest bearing down on top of them. A blitz rushing in through elbow, a triple kill out of the ARX, and Astralis with a plant. That's all you need for a successful round. These players, I mean, what more can you say?
Not much at this point, at least for Oxygen's sake. They have nothing to fall back on except for this kid's site. The good news for Oxygen fans, this site did look fairly dominant in their favor with the last time they played into it. But Astralis as well, keep in mind, their coach also giving input when we had that tactical pause from Oxygen a few rounds back. So they're going to know and have a course correction for how to approach the assault on this site. Could very well be a fifth for Astralis with the way the momentum is currently swinging.
Astralis at this moment starting to look like one of the best teams North America has produced in a very long time. If they indeed take this, they will be going against some of the best legacy players from North America that we have also ever produced, including Canadian, the only man to lift two hammers on this side of the continents, which is truly, truly incredible. Astralis, though, a little bit more to get done, and they want to make the grand final here in clean 2-0 fashion. Boxe will once again start this round inside of Shower Halls and see if any of the Astralis members want to play.
Astralis continue to take things a bit more cautiously on this round. Mainly, again, due to the early pressure they fended off against from Oxygen on the last assault here and the relative lack of success that they had in making that impact known to. That doesn't mean they're going to be sitting back and just kind of waiting for Oxygen to peak, however, here. They're still needing to make some forward moves of their own, and Iconic nearly making one right there. A very well-placed nade, just a bit off the mark to get the full kill, but still removes about half of Laxing's HP. No Thunderbird play at the moment for our defenders. There's no way for these guys to get themselves back up. Selva's in, but should be shot out pretty quickly here, at least the one in the interior.
I knew it!
No!
It's a big rush!
He goes right in through the connector, opens up wide open for his team to utilize. One rolling in for Iconic as well. Forrest is going for full control over this matchup, and they'll nearly get it. That's a 5-1 half from Astralis. They're 2 rounds away from the grand final now.
What the hell is even that? You're playing ace. You're the support
Oxygen are thinking, oh, well, they're just gonna break the wall down. Nobody has to worry about it too much. And then a man with an AK guns down half your team. What do you think of that, Oxygen? 5-1 on the half by Astralis as they are utter dominance up against their North American counterparts.
Forest might have been one of the biggest pickups we've seen, not only for Astralis, but for North America in quite some time, as he is the X factor inside of this game that is pushing them not only into a winning position, you could say that for Iconic as well, but he's the player that's pushing them over the edge and very possibly into a grand final spot in their first tournament back in this roster.
Forrest is a player that we hadn't seen in so very long, John. He was a player that played for the OG Beast Coast roster and eventually just didn't play the game anymore, really. Kind of messed around in Challenger League and did some other things. And then out of nowhere, Astralis picks him up for Stage 1 of 2022. I haven't seen Forrest's name in 2 years, and now there's a huge potential that he has the chance to take the grand final away from Canadian. It's up to these next 2 rounds and a couple more if Oxygen are able to possibly get those up. But now for Oxygen, they're on the offensive side. Laxing's got to be on LMG duty along with Newers. A lot of potential here for OXG in the lineup, but hopefully the mental's not shattered.
Forest currently 11-2 inside of just this map here, nearly up 2 KPR as well, with 6 rounds completed and 11 frags to back it up from all of those. Truly impressive stuff coming out from him. And again, this isn't even considering Iconic's performance as well. Those first 2 rounds, the clutch on round 2 and the double entry on round number 1. This is truly a powerhouse duo between these 2 players in terms of what they can provide to this roster in fragging power. Let's talk more about this current round, though, as we've got Shuttle lining up here at the top of the stairs to try and see if he can catch these players. Jay and I know also going to be pinched upon, but have they drummed out this top stairs position? The first kill will be dead, but DP Fire elsewhere on the map with an immediate exchange here. Forrest! Oh my goodness! Shuttle helping out for that second one. It doesn't go to Forrest, it goes to Shuttle, but still, he primes it with the opening kill. And already this round has been brought down to a 4v2. It's just Dream and Foxay, and they're the support utility players here. You've got the Hard Breach as well as the Thatcher, and they're all that remains of this assault.
Oxygen can't even clear the map without bleeding, and not even bleeding, Blue. They're stuck like a pig, constantly losing body after body. Astralis, all they have to do is give over J90, but he already accomplished his job as well. It's down to Dream and Foxay to try and stop Astralis from reaching map, match, grand final point.
So quiet across the map here. Oxygen know the dire straits they've been thrown into here. They're not looking to make yet another mistake to put them in an even worse position and throw Dream potentially into another clutch scenario, but they may not have a choice. Foxay already getting tracers thrown back at him as he tries to get up towards the front of Freezer, brought down to about half HP. Dream will attempt to prime his teammate for a better push by dumping his flash utility into the depths of the hallway, but it won't work out. Foxay cannot push forward. The toxic babes are just being chained back to back by Iconic here, and Foxay cannot find a safe target to engage upon. Trying his hard out to pre-fire, but he goes down to DP Fire, and Forrest with yet another kill. Astralis are just 1 round away from an upset 2-0 against Oxygen and a spot at the Charlotte Major Grand Finals.
You hear the 1 more round chants from the crowd. And as I said, John, it wasn't just a joke in our video that we made for Astralis. It's not about the money. It's about the victory. Astralis are here to take this away from Oxygen and to take this whole goddamn tournament if they have to. 6-1 right now at the current moment, leading by 5. Astralis are looking to shut it down on a kid's defense, and this might be one of the most straightforward defensive operator lineups we've seen the whole damn day. A Lesion, a Wamai, a Smoke, a Mute, and a Malusi. Apparently that's all you need in order to utterly dominate your opponent. And at the current moment, Oxygen will be switching some things up. Newers, in fact, going away from the LMG, John. He's feeling more comfortable on what a lot of gunners across the entire world feel is one of the best guns in the game, the F2 on Twitch.
5 seconds left.
What a storyline. It's being set up for our finals as well. A clash of playstyles, a clash of metas to a certain extent here. Dark Zero still playing the slow, methodical playstyle, adding some aggressive elements to it, yes, in recent times, but still falling back on the traditional Siege playstyle. Meanwhile, Astralis, this raw, aggressive playstyle we've been seeing burst out over the past few months with operators like Finka coming into the fold for the attacking roster and being almost quintessential to a team's success. It will truly be a battle for the ages tomorrow. But Astralis, they haven't locked it in just yet. As you're hearing the crowd say, they just need that one final round, and it will be theirs. That position against their brethren from inside the same region. They just need to knock out the rest of the Oxygen roster, but things will start a little bit of a better footing for Oxygen this time. Nours with a clean opening entry against J9O. He will falter first for the second round in a row.
That's fortunate for Oxygen, but what do they do with this? A shotgun blast will catch Nours and make some new holes for those toxic babes to travel through for main stairs. Nours trying to get out of the building now. More than likely might adapt the window, and he's dead. Forrest found him on the gate's window. Nours is gone. Oxygen now have been equalized with Astralis. They've always been capable of finding those frags, and they do it yet again.
It's an even fight here, and that's the exact opposite of what Oxygen wanted to get after they found another opening kill against J9O. 2 rounds in a row here that Oxygen have failed to convert the opening kill into their favor, but still, the round's not over yet, so we don't want to talk about this too heavily. They'll open up the access to the walk-in closet, giving them the billiards route they need to either go for the sneaky plant or just have proper post-plant positioning. Oh no, it's not even clean. They don't even actually have the capability to walk through that because there's a little part in the middle that stayed alive here. So unlucky for Oxygen, and this is exactly when they needed luck to be on their side. They needed everything they could possibly get to win this game, but it's just not looking like it's happening. Shuttle sneaks off the kill against Vert. That's the fragging impact largely gone from Oxygen now. Laxing, it's down to the veterans now, and the new addition in Dream. But Dream, he's had himself quite the series so far too. Don't count him and his 2 other teammates down just yet, but it's looking bleak. DP Fire, Iconic, the rest of Astralis, it's fallen to Laxing, but no! Iconic will shut it all down! Astralis get further and closer to the stars. They ascend one final game closer to the grand finals. They'll move on, they'll take down Oxygen in a barnstorming 2-0 victory to move on to our final match of the tournament.
The Red Giants of North America, Astralis, make it to the grand finals at their first international event ever. Off the back of some amazing plays from those like Iconic and Forrest, a 2-0 game. What an amazing series in between these two. Astralis building their success off the back of amazing players inside of North America, but nothing can hold a candle to what Astralis is doing with this roster.
Iconic, Forrest, DP Fire, J9O, and the rest of Astralis are so close to the stars, but they've got to get past one final obstacle to reach it. Dark Zero stands in their way as our grand final is now set up. It's all North America, baby, but we need to find out who the best is, not only inside of this region, but inside of the world as well, as our grand final will be a riveting matchup set up for tomorrow.
Well, what a series, my friend. That was intense, to say the least. But, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to do it for Blue and I for not only today, but for this event. And let me tell you, it has been absolutely magical to have all of you back in this building with us and all of you at home watching. The rest of you, have a fantastic night and have a great day, North America.
There are civilians out there who need us. They can't fight back. They can't escape. And they can't heal their own wounds. That's our job. And we're the best at it. By being careful and compassionate, we can make the world a safer place for everyone. We do this to be of service. And we can't afford to be complacent. When we go out there, we work twice as hard to protect others. Whatever we have to do, we put the people first.
Get them out of here!
That will be our focus. With unwavering diligence, we defend. And we get to say that when Wolfguard is on the field, things will be different.
We are back on the stage here in Charlotte for the R6 Major, and there is a certain man stood to the right of me right now. Commiserations to Oxygen, who will not be in our grand final. Astralis will be there. This is a dream run for you, Iconic. Is that fair to say?
It's a run I envisioned for us.
You pictured this?
Yeah.
I love the fact that this is your first ever international event, and you and the rest of your team just seem completely unfazed by that. Are you hesitant? I mean, look at this fan, right? Look at all of these fans shouting your name. What does that do for you?
I mean, it just gives me the confidence to just go out there and play with my team and just play with absolute confidence with the crowd behind us, and it's just truly amazing to be out here representing Astralis. So just got to thank you guys for coming out.
You are in a different zone right now. Like, what is it? Where did this extra gear come from? And how does it feel to be in the server right now in your form?
I mean, I've been working throughout my whole career to get to the form that I wanted to be at. I always thought I could be one of the best, so now I'm just showing it.
Your entire roster is spectacular. Forrest as well was dropping numbers for fun. Anything you want to say about him?
I mean, Forrest is just insane, bro. He's just one of the best players I've seen when he's just in the shits. It's amazing to have him on the team. I love that guy.
Absolutely iconic, right? Earlier on, your opponent that you will be facing up against tomorrow, Dark Zero, I gave Canadian the opportunity to say a few words, to the fans and stuff. Is there anything you want to say to all of your amazing supporters here in Charlotte?
I mean, I just got to thank you guys for coming out, and I want you guys loud tomorrow when we whoop DZ.
Woo! Okay, on that, I'll let you just walk off into the distance. No, you good. Go.
Troy, I'm coming for you. I ain't forget what you said in that interview.
Woo! Shots fired. What did you expect? Of course, we are about to get into the grand final tomorrow. For now, here on the main stage, we are done and dusted for today. Massive thank you to all of the audience right now. We will see you for the grand final tomorrow. Are you hyped? I said, are you hyped? I know I am. Back to Doa on the desk to wrap things up here today.
Thanks, Ian. Man, what a series. That you hear terms like tour de force, savage, dominated. Like, that is what you would say about that series. Astralis saying, you know what, we are the best in NA. We're going to prove it. We're going to go into the grand finals having only lost 3 maps all year. If you combine this tournament and NAL, we're going to take Oxygen, that looked like an incredible team, and they are an incredible team coming into this, and we're going to beat them 2-0 in convincing fashion. Like, if I was DZ, I know tomorrow's finals are going to be great, but I would be worried. Oxygen looked incredible.
Yeah, I mean, Oxygen were supposed to come in. They were supposed to look incredible, and they didn't. Okay, Astralis made Oxygen look like a bunch of Europeans. This was not a game that Oxygen looked competent in. Really, Astralis was put in the dirt time and time again. No matter who it had to be on this roster, this was such a dominant Oregon, which we see as such a defender-sided map usually. Oxygen starting the defense, getting a single round. It was over by that point.
And that single round was a clutch from Dream as well. This was absolutely clinical from Astralis. they just had the number, and it was a big question in my mind. The only toss-up that I had between these two teams would be I thought Oxygen's experience would get them through.
Same.
But today, Astralis look like they've been here and done this before, and I think they're just living off pure euphoria right now. They're just so confident in every play that they're going to make. Every attack, it just had that moment where they were so explosive, got themselves into the bomb site and won the round.
Honestly, Jack, I mean, we're fools.
Yep.
They put a throne on the stage, and we didn't expect the King to make it to the grand finals. That's on us. That's on us.
Fair point. I mean, look at this team, right? I mean, obviously popping off after the win there, but the pressure just seemed so, uncounterable. That was the thing. If I could just take any one word to describe that series, it was pressure. The amount of pressure Astralis brought on Oxygen was just something that I don't think any team out there could possibly have.
Astralis were playing like they didn't have any pressure, and that's a very hard mindset to get into when you've got a crowd, when you've got thousands of people, when you're in the semi-final of a tournament.
Yeah.
Oxygen, on the kind of converse side of that, they looked like they were under the most pressure they've ever played under, and they crumbled under it.
You look at Vertical, a player that has been so good for Oxygen for so long, and he just wasn't here today. And what I saw yesterday in the quarterfinals when they were against BDS is he was empowered by the crowd. When they were cheering for him, when they were really behind his clutches, he was getting aces, he was having the time of his life. But in this stadium...
And now it's a bit split, and they...
Yeah, it was not even split, but I think Astralis really won the crowd over with their play. I mean, the Astralis fans in the crowd were so loud, and OXG, I hardly heard them.
I gotta say, though, I gotta shout out Dream on OXG. There were moments in that Oregon where Dream either almost brought things back around or did legitimately save the day on some of those rounds. So you saw the veteran status coming in. You saw what a valuable member of the team he is, and even though they're done in this tournament, I mean, still Oxygen, a team to watch for going into the next stage here in NAL, no doubt. But back to Astralis and back to some awesome rounds from that map to look at. And it's just a highlight reel, right? I mean, we're going to start off with rounds 1 and 2. This one's iconic, but everybody got their moment to shine in that last map, didn't they?
Yeah, I watched these first couple of rounds and I said to myself, oh my god, Iconic owns Oxygen. This is not pretty. The way he started things off against these roamers on OXG on the top floor, being able to clean them both up with a 1-2, easy on the LMG. And then the second round, I think, was very much symbolic of this matchup. The two young guys, right, coming through it. This was the finisher for Iconic in round 1. Then round 2, the 1v1 between Newers and Iconic, the two LMG players, the two fraggers, the two young guys that have really thought of themselves as the best players in North America, if not the world. Now we got to see it to the test, and it's clear, it's Iconic.
Yeah, I mean, when you and I were watching that, we're like, oh man, it's Newers versus Iconic. This is the 1v1, and we were saying like, this is the moment that's going to define this series, right? These are the two players that were talking against each other a lot, right? And in the end, Iconic found Newers looking the other way. He bamboozled him, right? Let's move on to round number 5. This is another one, but this time around, this was a fun blitz rush. And talking about the pressure Astralis put on Oxygen, this was like a great example of that.
Yeah, and I think it just shows how much confidence Astralis are playing with. The 3-1 up, this could have been a crucial round had they lost it, but they just going in, they're using the blitz. And I'm not saying this is off information. I think this is off pure confidence and pure belief that no matter what happens, wherever the defenders are, Astralis will find a way to beat them. And that's exactly what they did. Forest running in, going deep there, getting the kill deep freezer before he gets the guy close to him. Dream does actually give it his absolute best effort, and he is a clutch player. We've seen that multiple times. I think he's probably the only one out of this series that can hold his head up high and say, I did give it my best.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, his best obviously wasn't good enough in this particular round as well.
Yeah, and this is a round that they managed to win over the Laundry defense. And we talked in that first map how OXG went to T-Room 3 times and lost it all times. So we go to Laundry 3 times, and they lose it all 3 times as well.
It's kind of hard because we talk about Siege as like this defender-sided game a lot of the time. I know it's shifting with attacker repick, but when you've got a team and you're in the semi-finals, I don't think Oxygen have showed up today. I think they'll go back and they'll say, we've left some stuff on the server because they aren't able to defend the primary sites on Skyscraper and on Oregon. And I think they've came and they've just hit a blank.
All right, well, one more time. We've got one last round to take a look at. It's going to be round number 6, and this was kind of the Forest highlight reel, right? I mean, for a guy who put up tons and tons of kills in this last map, this was one of the rounds that looked the best.
Forrest ended the game against Xset, and he ended the game against Oxygen. This man is a closer on the hard breach, in the site. It doesn't matter. He's there getting the frags that he has to get, and he's just been such an impressive highlight player. I think it's very fair to call him one of, if not the best support player in the world from a fragging highlight point of view. He's been so good for Astralis, and it's great to see him here on a live stage in front of a crowd.
Yep, that's right. I mean, again, like the thing that impresses me the most about Astralis is that every single member of the team had their moment in that last map. And across the whole tournament, every series, it's again, like every single player. There's no one on Astralis that can't step up when they really need to. And that's what's going to make them a team that's going to be a deadly, deadly threat against Dark Zero tomorrow.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, we're going to check out who our MVP of the match is going to be, actually. This is a tough choice, actually. Ooh. I mean, Forrest had the numbers, right? Yeah. But there are a lot of other big moments here. Who do you think it's going to be?
It's got to be Forrest. It could be Iconic, but it's got to be Forrest.
The default pick, I think, at this point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's Forrest. Good.
Yeah. No shock. All right.
I think Iconic did a really good job of starting things off for Astralis. Having those 2 big plays in the first couple of rounds really made it so I think that momentum got started. But as we said, I mean, Forrest is the closer.
He's such an explosive player as well. It's like he just keeps going up the gears. He gets that first kill, and he's just pre-firing, ready for the second, the third, the fourth. And that's why you get those highlight reel plays that we saw, that round 6 play in the Kid Storms defense, where he's gone in, trophy, Kid Storms, everywhere. He just keeps going, and sometimes, a lot of the time, you get shut down from that, but when it does work, it looks absolutely incredible.
Yeah, picked him up at a CL just a couple of months ago. Wichita Wolves lost this player to Astralis, and what a pickup it was.
I mean, what a story for this team coming into NAL. You know, a team that, you know, when we were talking about the spread for NAL at the beginning of the season, we're like, well, the Astralis, you know, they have some standout players and it looks pretty good, but we're not expecting a ton from them maybe this first stage. But they crushed the first stage NAL. Come in, they're crushing this tournament. We'll see what they can do in the finals tomorrow. Let's take a look at our bracket as it stands at the end of the penultimate day of the Charlotte Major. Our 2 semifinals today resulted in Dark Zero taking out Team Liquid, going to the grand finals, and then Astralis dominating win over Oxygen. They move on as well, and that means we've got an NA grand finals. Dark Zero versus Astralis. It's going to be a hard one to pick. I mean, recency bias makes me kind of lean Astralis after that performance, but we can't forget about what a solid strategic team Dark Zero is.
I think Dark Zero will be quite happy with people hyping up Astralis going into this, because it was the same with the game today. It was the same all tournament long, is that they've kind of relished having that underdog role, so they'll be more than happy sitting in that again for tomorrow.
It's the old versus the new in North America. The strategic Dark Zero against the kind of wild Astralis. It's 2 clash of playstyles, clash of generations in North America. Yeah. Oh, it's going to be a fun day.
It is going to be great. But that brings us to the end of our day here in Charlotte. Before we go, though, final thoughts from my 2 analysts. Fresh, how was your day? What did you learn today?
Oh, I learned that I cannot predict Rainbow Six matches for the love of my life, because I selected all 4 in my predictions at one point today, and I learned that it was always going to be the case, but it's NA on top.
Certainly seems that way. Jesse?
North America is the best region, but we have to still figure out who's the best team in our region. Is it Astralis, who have been so good for so long? Or is it Dark Zero, who honestly people have been sleeping on, people have been doubting? I've been doubting. I'll say it. I've been wrong a couple of times on DZ predictions. We'll see tomorrow.
I mean, it's going to be hard to say. I don't want to try to even make any predictions right now. Well, we'll see if we get another coin from the fans or something. Who knows, right? 1-1, I think, today. But that's going to do it for us from Charlotte. Again, thanks so much for watching, everybody. Have a great night. Take care of each other. We'll be back tomorrow for the grand finals of the Rainbow Six Siege Charlotte Major. Dark Zero versus Astralis. It's kind of an NAL finals, but it's also a world finals. Find out who comes out on top tomorrow.